Good morning, everybody. Oh, what a day to talk about your Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe their most complete game of the year. Probably their most complete game of the year. Is it a game that now brings the fan base back to the feely goods? That this team is actually okay. You know, they beat a team that a lot of people thought was going to give them trouble. I thought it would be a close game. They dominated the game. So let's go through the domination. You know, and I tweeted this as I'm watching the game. It's got to hurt when a star you let get away rips you a new rectum in your own stadium. And that's what Saquon Barkley did to the New York Giants. And you know, the gate was open when he went for 55 yards. But he was beasting people all game long. You just know he had some extra incentive. He lowered the shoulder. He was just killing people. He's a big, powerful, fast man, and the Giants let that guy get away. I mean, it's astounding to me that the Giants have let that guy get away. The Eagles have him, and the Eagles now tailored their attack around him after they had some problems early on in the game. Let's go to number 2. Jalen Hurts, efficient. Not great. The numbers aren't going to be eye-popping, but he was efficient because the running game helped him out, but he threw maybe it's the best pass of his career with that 4th and 3 dime to A.J. Brown. That's an amazing throw. Guy's in his face, he's kind of on his back feet. Bam, makes the delivery. Sacks. Oh, they're back. Fangio using his expertise as a defensive coordinator to fit what the Eagles do best. Sweat stays hot. Jalen Carter. Huff gets involved. And how about Nakobe Dean springing him in there? Number 4, the offensive line. Keeping the Giants at bay after some early woes. Brian Burns was efficient early, but he wasn't efficient from the second half on. Quinion Mitchell, shackled neighbors. Cooper DeJean, we found our grease man, as they said in Ocean's 11. We found our return man. Chocolate and vanilla rookies. And last but not least, and this is where Bill Colarulo comes in, the head coach springing back after a week of turmoil, saying, phenomenal to y'all. I'm a great coach. And Bill, I don't know if anybody followed his Twitter yesterday, but Bill was moist. He was absolutely moist over Nick Sirianni. So, Bill, you have the floor.
First of all, it was a big win. I did not expect them to dominate the way that they did. I thought they would win, but to be able to do to the Giants' defense what they did, especially on the ground, was impressive. Without Jordan Mailata and then without your starting right guard for most of that game because Mekhi Becton leaves with a concussion. And now in 2 games, we talk about the defense. This team has more sacks in 2 games, 13, than they do in points allowed, which is only 12. That is a dominating performance 2 weeks in a row by your defense. But to the head coach, you can't deny that the week that this head coach went through could have gone a completely other direction. When you are not only being talked about locally, but nationally on every single major broadcast as a clown, being talked about not only what you did to the fans behind the bench, but then a family man like Nick Sirianni being accused of using his children as a human shield. This was a tough week for Nick Sirianni. Whether you like him or not, you have to acknowledge it was a tough week. And the fact that he was able to put that distraction aside and use it to galvanize the troops and get these players to play for him is impressive. This team, you cannot deny, came out and they played hard from the start. I know they didn't get the first quarter points, but you can't deny that this team played for their head coach. And we're going to learn a lot over the next couple of weeks, but it looks like this team is starting to unite. It's starting to unite, and you can't deny the fact that Nick Sirianni, now 38-19, with a .667 winning percentage.
Oh. God.
14th highest in NFL history.
God, I can't.
You can't deny it, Mike.
This is going to go on. Make it stop, Ray. Please make it stop. This is going to go on, and I can't. And I have nothing to say. I can't refute it. I will say this though: it was pretty brilliant of Nick Sirianni to uncover an unknown gem like Saquon Barkley. I mean, don't you think that was brilliant, right? And the defensive game plan with the defensive coordinator. I mean, I got to give him credit for going out and finding Barkley and finding Vic Fangio. What do you think, Ray?
Hell yeah.
That's right, baby. That's right.
Oh, my God.
Look, you
This
can't.
is going to go on all day long. People, I need your help. Are you going to be supportive of Bill today? Because I got nothing. I can't say, well, he did this, he did that. You're right. You're right. They played hard for him in this game.
Not only did they play hard for him, we've gotten on him, me included, for some of his decisions on fourth down in the first few weeks of the season. This team goes 3 for 3 on fourth down against the Giants. They also go 3 for 3 in the red zone.
Good thing you had Kellen Moore.
Hey, you can't blame them when they lose and not give them credit when they win, Mike. You can't blame them when they lose if you're not going to give them credit when they win.
I got nothing today for you. You are going to be just a pig in slop today. I mean, this is unbelievable.
Look, don't get me wrong. I was critical of what Sirianni did. I still don't like him jawing at the fans last week or him bringing the kids up to the press conference. But you can't deny the fact that he was able to take that distraction and utilize it to his advantage to galvanize this team. This looked like a united team. Now, I'm sure it helped that they were going into MetLife and it was Saquon's revenge game. That all helped. But this team played for their head coach, man. Ray's got nothing either. Look.
I mean, you just kind of went the direction I would like to take that conversation. If we're talking like, oh, yeah, they stood up for their head coach. Yeah, they had some other things they were also standing up for in this game. It's,
Right.
a division rival.
At
Saquon's return.
5:03. I'm going to show this to.
I know.
You can't see it. At 5:03, he sends me a little vid of Sirianni's head shake.
Oh,
Mug into the camera.
Mug into the camera.
No.
And underneath it says Coach of the Year. This is what I got at 5:03 p.m., Ray.
See, today is the day, though, that I don't really want to go after the guy.
No, you can't.
I can't.
That's why this is a Bill day. As much
But
as
I also can't let Bill have
as much
the
as
day.
I hate it, it's Bill's day.
It's not my day, Mike. It's Nick Sirianni's day. Let's give credit where it's due.
So much good.
All right, so now let's just I'm watching this game, Earl, and the people are just dying to be negative because there was hatred for Jalen Hurts early in this game. What's he doing? He's not seeing the field. He did miss Saquon in the flat. I don't know really because he was looking the other way and he didn't anticipate. That was bad. But they rallied from it. It was a shaky start for the offense, but with this running game, the way he was running, it's fuel for him. It made him take off. So, that was quickly erased. Again, they didn't score a point in the first quarter, and people were going, but you saw it. Your social media was burning.
Yeah, people were ready to jump all over him. What really set the tone, though, was on that third down check down pass from Hurts to Barkley, where he doesn't get the first down, but he trucks that cornerback. Yeah. It was like, all right, this is going to be a day for Saquon. I mean, he just ran over that guy like he was a preschooler.
Yeah, he just blasted him. He went low. And, he talking about guys get those kind of powerful legs and is just squatting 800 pounds, right? That guy had no chance when he got low and he got his leverage on him.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
game.
So listen, it was a pleasure to watch. I mean, it was a dominant. The Giants are just, of all those fans up there, I don't know what I have up there. I really don't. I mean, that's they're a bad football team. The quarterback is bad. He had the nerve to blanch after he was pulled. But regardless, that was a really impressive win. And the big question today, and the thing that I want to touch on, is this fan base. Does this game bring back the Eagles fans as far? Last week we talked about they're not going anywhere. This is not a team that really is that good, frankly, and they're really not going anywhere. This was an impressive win. You got to put in perspective, of course, with the opponent, but they looked pretty good on both sides of the ball. When they're running the football like that, they're a pretty good team because they have two unstoppable forces. And one is the wide receiver, and then the other is the running back. And both were engaged yesterday with plays that the other team could not stop.
And I think the fan base should be back in on this team. And this kind of flows from what we talked about a lot last week, where I felt that a lot of fans were overreacting to the first 5 games. Because you look at what this team has gone through now, through 6 games, 7 weeks of the season. They've played 4 games away from Lincoln Financial Field. They had to go to Brazil. Then they had those back-to-back road games against New Orleans and Tampa. Now you're on the road at MetLife Stadium. They've battled injuries when A.J. Brown went down, which is crazy. They're undefeated when A.J. Brown plays, by the way. And I see people, the only reason this offense is good is because of Saquon. The only reason this offense is good is because of A.J. Brown. But guess what? They're on your team. So it's okay that the offense is good because of these guys, because they're part of the team. So you go through all of those things, the travel, the injuries, all of the change in the offseason that we talked about last week. And to be sitting here now with the Philadelphia Eagles at 4-2, fans should be all in because this is a good thing. This team is building. They just dominated the Giants. Yeah, you could say the Giants' offense is terrible, but the Giants' defense wasn't. And this offense dominated that Giants' defense. This team's starting to unite.
Yeah, you were all about
fans
that.
should be back in.
You were all about that Giants defense last week.
They were a good defense.
I didn't see what you saw in that game. So.
Well, you saw it early. You saw it early with Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence able to get after the quarterback. Yeah. It's just you didn't expect a top 10 defense to be able to get dominated like that on the ground.
All right, we're going to talk about it via text, via phone. Here's how you get in. It's 610-632-0975. I'd really like to have a lot of conversations with the people last week who were really down on the Eagles. You might still be down on them. Maybe they didn't convince you, but maybe they did with that win yesterday. It's the Mike Missanelli Show. It's 97.5 The Fanatic. Any love?
Sirianni knows how to coach. Sirianni.
Oh, my God. This is going to
knows
go
how
all
to
on.
coach.
People, I need your help. Let me read a quote from Bill 17 hours ago on Twitter. The quote, "This team doesn't play for their head coach," end quote, crowd is going to be very quiet today. The Eagles showed up and played hard regardless of all the outside noise directed at Nick Sirianni this week. Oh, he couldn't wait. He just couldn't wait. He's unleashed.
Hey, this team played hard, man.
Look at this. And we're disarmed. We can't say squat pooty. Oh, my.
A big win, baby. A big win. And look, I know there's people out there saying it's just the Giants. It's a division opponent on the road against a team that before this had really not been blown out by
Stop it.
anybody.
They stink.
They did look bad. I will give you that.
They stink. Now you're trying to justify your threats of their defense. You better watch. This isn't going to be an easy game.
But, dude, the defense coming in was a top 10 defense. The Washington Commanders only beat them 21-18. They beat the Seahawks. I mean, they only gave up 17 points to the Bengals.
Give all the Eagles credit to this. This is all credit to the Eagles. They just turned it inside out on them. All right, they dominated them. And the coaching plan was fantastic. I got nothing.
Yeah, they do stink, but it was nice to see the Eagles dominate a bad team.
They dominated that team. After the first quarter, they dominated.
See, look, here's what bothers me, though.
They got a little help with Theo Johnson, my Penn State man. With that was a touchdown pass interference. He didn't have to make it obvious.
Yeah.
He pushed off the guy.
The
What did he push
OPI,
off?
Zach Bowen, I think he pushed off on, right?
Yeah.
But I see people in the YouTube chat saying I'm ruining the win for them because I'm giving Sirianni credit. And this is what bothers me, though.
Chat.
This is what bothers me about fans. Well, why can't you just give the guy his flowers and say, you know what, Coach?
They don't like him.
You did a good job.
They don't like him.
Hell yeah.
All right? They don't like him. And you're right. Just because you don't like, I don't like him. But I'm not going to sit here and say, well, they didn't play for him. I guess they did. I don't know. To me, it's you know how I feel about coaches and playing for the coach. They play for a game plan and they get success. And what helped was they couldn't stop the running back. The running back just beasted that team, right? So I go, all right, this was the formula they used to beat that team, and it was a good formula. It was the formula they needed to beat them.
You talk about the good running back. Could you imagine what John Mara is thinking right now?
I mean, he knew he was going to get haunted by it.
Oh, my God. But Joe Shane, and when you watch the Hard Knocks this offseason, like, he was almost so smug about it, too. When John Mara's like, look, I'm going to lose a lot of sleep. And he's like laughing. Well, Philly's out. Chicago's driving up the price. Who knows? We're going to be all right.
Yeah.
And then he says that the reason they weren't going to pay Saquon was because they had to build an offensive line that could protect Daniel Jones. How did that work out yesterday?
They committed to him, too. They committed the money to the quarterback, which is probably foolish at this point. Now you look at it and go, he is what he – I don't think he's a bad quarterback, but I can't figure him out. I mean, he certainly can make throws. He certainly has great legs. I don't know why he's not better.
Who, Daniel Jones?
Yeah. He's got tools to be a decent quarterback.
He does. He doesn't pass the eye test, though, in game. I don't know what the problem is. And now you already got, Malik Neighbors saying he was open after the game. They're in
disarray.
And I don't know how much these guys like Brian Dable. But, hey, we don't have Brian Dable. We got Nick Sirianni, Ray.
Yeah, thank God we don't have to worry about having a head coach the players don't like. Woof. Dodged the bullet with that one.
Listen, I want to get to the phones today. I think maybe people are afraid to give Sirianni credit. You don't have to give the head coach credit. Give the team credit. Give Saquon Barkley credit. And we're going to play his Penn State cultured presser afterwards, where he said all the right things and just that's the Penn State influence. That's let's face it.
Yeah.
You want to hate Penn State? That's the product you get out of Penn State right there.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
I mean, I got nothing against you on that.
You ever get a rat out of Penn State? Has there ever been a player out of Penn State who was a rat? Come on, go ahead. Both of you Penn State haters.
I don't know. How was Kerry Collins? Wasn't he a Penn State guy? Was he all right?
What was wrong with him?
I don't know.
He played like 20 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
You know, he threw for like 50,000 yards. He has Hall of Fame yardage numbers.
Is there anyone, Ray? Can we look this up? I wasn't prepared.
You're not
going to
find anybody who's a rat who was a Penn State guy. Find somebody. I dare you.
I do have to say, though, Saquon Barkley, man. You're right.
Hassan Reddick went to Temple. He looks like a rat.
Hey, he's coming back.
Yeah, now he's coming back.
To a 2-5 Jets team.
God forbid a guy wants to get paid in his prime.
Oh, he wanted to get paid. He wasn't paid enough.
He wasn't.
He had $17 million. He wasn't paid enough.
Want to be paid like one of the top guys.
Any Penn State guy ever do that? Was there any Penn State guy
playing
that
for his
caused
division rival
any
now.
havoc? Even when the Giants were screwing this kid last year, did he say anything about it?
No, he just went and he decided to play for the rival.
I think he held out. Then he was going to hold out for a little. They renegotiated.
Yeah, okay. He didn't.
How about him
They gave
saying
him 1 year? He played on a franchise tag, didn't he?
No, they did,
Okay.
but then they renegotiated. They gave him a little bit more money, I believe. And how about him?
Hey, I'm just saying. Find me a Penn State rat.
Well,
You can't do it.
I don't know. We work with one, I think, Ray.
I was going to no comment the whole situation, man. I was just sitting here.
I'm not as cultured as Saquon.
I was waiting for the let's go to the phones thing. I was just sitting back here waiting for that.
Mike, if you were Saquon and you had an opportunity to set your career high in yards and the head coach comes over to you and says, do you want to go back in? You're 14 yards shy. Was it 14, I think? And he says, nah, let the other guys eat.
Would I have gone back in?
Yeah.
No.
You think what Saquon did, most people would have done?
About that, it's going to be as high. If he goes back in that game and gets hurt, the risk reward of it, he did the right thing, and I would have done the right thing. Nah.
What do you think?
Let the guy stay in there. This is garbage time.
You think Sirianni did the right thing by asking him?
Yeah. Of course he did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another feather in his cap.
Oh, how about it?
He's Vince Lombardi today.
You see how I got Mike to compliment
Vince
Nick.
Lombardi. Oh my God!
So
Everything he does. I'm going to tell you, by the end of this show, I'm going to be a Sirianni fan club member.
Oh,
I'll wave the flag.
Please stop.
No, I'm not. Go to Jeremy in Jersey. Jeremy, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Jeremy?
Hey, Mike, how you doing, man?
What's
I'm
up,
glad
Jeremy?
you're back to give us good vibes and vibration in terms of what you do. I'm glad you're back, brother. Long time, man.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Yes. I'm just calling because last week, I think it was on Thursday or Friday night, I had a dream about the Eagles. And I called. It were two ladies on the air that time. I can't just remember their names. And I made a prediction that first and foremost, the Eagles was going to destroy the Giants. And I also set a score, and I said Giants is going to have very, very low score, but that the Eagles were going to be up to, say, 27 points upward. Mm-hmm. And that was my prediction based on the dream that I had.
Yeah,
And I
wow.
also said, secondly, that, look, let all of us just forget about this noise we are making right now. The team is not good. The team is dead. The coach is that and that and that. Let us just keep quiet and see this game with Giants. And after that, I'm telling you, Mike, the Eagles is going to the next 3 games straight, they're going to beat it. And I'll make another prediction after that.
Okay. It could very well happen that way.
I think on Thursday or Friday, I think it was in the morning. So it was my prediction, and it has come to be true. When I have dreams, I mean, trust me, they can come to pass.
Wow, look at you, Jeremy. Have you always had that gift?
All kinds of things at this point in time. Oh, because of Sequoia, because of this person, because of that person. That is a team. It is a teamwork. And so when team wins, it's everybody that play on that team, including the head coach. That's what I wanted to say.
I got you, Jeremy. Jeremy, let me ask you, have you always had that gift where you have a dream and it comes true?
Hello?
Yes. Have you always had that gift of those dreams?
Yes, even in my family.
And your your family.
Even yes. When I have dreams in the family.
Well, listen, you got to be our show sleuth then. You got to call every week and tell us about the dream.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Trust me.
All right. Well, then you're in. You're going to be our guy. You're going to be our guy, a guy of the occult.
Mike, I don't have a problem with that. Trust me.
All right, buddy. All right, listen. Hold Hold on a second. We're going to get your digits. We might have to consult Jeremy.
All right. I'm all for it. We'll get his predictions, and then we'll use those for our picks, because I don't think we had a great
That
weekend
character
of
in that
picks.
movie Eddie Murphy did where he was Johnny Wishbone. Was that Beverly Hills Cop 2?
I don't remember it.
Johnny Wishbone. My name is Johnny Wishbone. I think it was Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I know Ray doesn't remember.
Ray
Ray, he's not good.
didn't even know there was the Beverly Hills Cop 2.
No, Ray's like, who's Eddie Murphy? Did he play
Okay,
football
all right,
for the Giants?
Let's relax over here. There's a line here.
We'll get verification on that by Twitter. Like 100 people go, that was Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Yeah.
Johnny Wishbone. 610-632-0975. Mike Missanelli Show continues. Yeah, Sixers. Take the wrap off their new squad. I don't know if Paul George will be playing. Probably not.
Yeah, I think we'll have to wait a little longer.
Yeah, but there you go. You got NBA basketball on the air, as Tom McGinnis would say.
Now, you think fans are going to allow themselves to enjoy this regular season, or is it wake us up in the playoffs?
I think you'll enjoy the season because it's intriguing to have Maxey, George, and Embiid on the floor at the same time. Not on back-to-back, but for most of the season. And pending load management. That's going to be exciting to see how those guys gel together. I think that most people are excited that Paul George is the guy who's in the lineup instead of Tobias Harris.
How could you not be?
Yeah, and their bench
Tobias Harris over me?
Yeah, their bench is deeper, although they're some aged veterans. But they have a lot of players. And I don't know what the rotation is going to be. He's got more than 10 players. So, the rotation is going to be 10 early, I would assume, and then get pared down. Then everybody fighting for their spot in that rotation of 8 when they get to the playoffs, or 9 at most.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the season. I want to try to enjoy it and not allow myself to fall into that.
There is no one, however, that I've seen of NBA analysts nationwide that think the Sixers are in the same echelon as the Celtics.
Well, until they prove it. I mean, you haven't seen these guys on the court.
They're not.
You don't think they got a shot?
No, they're not in the same realm as the Celtics. First of all, this team has to blend together and play together and find rotation spots. The Celtics already solved that. The Celtics are already beyond that. They're not finding out anything about themselves. They're just playing. And they're not going to load manage like this team is.
Yeah, I'm looking. Sixers got the 4th best odds to win the NBA championship. Celtics are a plus 310. Oklahoma City's a plus 650. The Knicks are a plus 750.
All right, so they think the Knicks are better. I don't necessarily think that. It may come out down that way in the regular season record because I don't think the Sixers are going to pay much attention to that record as the Celtics and the Knicks will. And then it's just a matter you got to come from behind a little bit, wherever that lands, whether they're 4th or 4th will be okay. 5th is a little more precarious.
So we're going to find out.
All right. In the meantime, we'll talk about the Sixers in due time. This is an Eagles day. This is a laud the coach day, man.
It's definitely an Eagles day.
They went through hell. They went through fire for this guy. I swear to God. They were upside down on a freaking roller coaster. It was just, they couldn't wait to bust it out to play for their head coach.
I know you're being sarcastic.
No.
I know you're being sarcastic.
No sarcasm.
And I know I'm going over the top. We're joking around here. But you do have to acknowledge this could have been a big distraction this week. I mean, every single spot, locally and nationally, Nick Sirianni was being called a clown. I mean, this could have really gone off the rails. And the fact that you saw it go the complete other way, and this was their most dominating performance in a calendar year. They haven't dominated anybody like this since Week 7 against Miami last year. For them to come out and dominate the way they did on both sides of the football, you got to give the guys some credit for this not being a distraction. And you give the players credit, too, because they could have allowed this to be a distraction, and they didn't. So hopefully this unites them going forward. And we didn't talk much. We've been talking about Saquon. We've been talking about the head coach. I loved what we saw from the Georgia Bulldogs. I mean, how about Jalen Carter getting 2 sacks, Nakobe Dean getting 2 sacks, and a guy that I have been extremely critical of, Nolan Smith, backed up last week, which he played a pretty good game against Cleveland, with another really strong performance. So is Nolan Smith turning a corner?
He looked good. He looked good. I'm just listen. I know you don't know this, but I know for a fact that Nick Sirianni carried a cross.
Oh God, here we go.
Through Fishtown. He was bearing a cross through Fishtown, and when he got to Port Richmond, a woman named Mary dabbed his forehead.
And now the the hanky that they wiped his face with is on display at NovaCare.
It's the Shroud of Sirianni. Has been discovered by archaeologists.
Oh, man.
610-632-0975. Vicente on a cell. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Vicente!
Hola,
amigo Vicente!
¿Cómo está?
Oh, how you doing? I'm doing all right, buddy. How are you?
Oh, I am very happy and very excited for a couple of things. First of all, I long to talk to you. However, your show schedule is conflicting with mine because I'm working. Having so many freaking meetings.
Well, you got to get those little iPods, man, and blow up. Make them think that you're listening to the meeting because you have a hearing problem, but it's really you're listening to the show.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I listen to the show and I watch the show in YouTube, in the channel.
I appreciate that, Vicente. You're a loyal man.
Definitely. And then what I'm excited is that our Eagles do much, much better. 28 points, no drops, no turnovers. That was the best thing.
Yes. Yeah, they played a clean game, and it was because they ran the football. And they were listen. He was efficient. He made 2 really great throws in that game.
Right. Exactly.
But it's a little easier not to turn the ball over when you got that running game rolling like that.
Yes, and based on that performance, I think I'm positive, 100% sure that they're going to Cincinnati and crush the Bengals because the Bengals just barely defeated the Giants last week. So, that goes to tell you something. If we put up performance like this, we definitely going to come away with a win, Yeah,
Cincinnati's going to be a big test for them.
Yes.
It's going to be a big test. I looked at that game. They probably could lose that game. We'll see.
Hey, they're a dog right now.
They are?
2.5-point dog.
2.5. Oof. Right.
Let me talk about the baseball team.
Mm-hmm.
Your favorite team, Mets, lost.
My squad. Mikey Metz was in mourning this weekend.
That's all right. His Yankees are there, though. His Yankees are there.
Yeah, well, the Yankees. I'm going to root for the Yankees. Remembering my old days when I used to live in New York City. But, I couldn't care less who wins.
Yeah,
anyway.
well, listen, they were the Dodgers are a better team. You can clearly see that.
Definitely.
Yeah. But the Mets were spunky. That's why I liked them. But their pitcher was dead yesterday.
Yeah, I hope you don't play anybody broadcasting that they did a miracle.
Yeah.
Because they are not our team.
I hear you. I hear you, Vicente. Yeah, the Dodgers and Yankees, they're the 2 best teams. I like it when it comes out to the 2 best teams playing each other. And, the people that want to play small ball, I wonder how you're feeling about the small ball situation here. With the Yankees are just bashers, man. They just bash you.
Yeah.
It's one after another. Come on.
It is going to be kind of cool. I mean, obviously, you wish the Phillies were there, but it is going to be kind of cool to see this Yankees lineup going up against the Dodgers and Ohtani. It'll be a fun matchup to watch. I wish it was the Phillies, but it's good. It'll be good baseball. Yeah, Mikey Metz is
That's
too
it.
upset.
They're not
That's it.
asking a little bit how he feels about his Mets being out.
No,
They weren't the better team. They fought back and they won that 5th game. And I'm thinking, okay, Minaya, I knew it was going to happen. I knew exactly what was going to happen. Well, the Dodgers have a bullpen game, and Minaya is their best pitcher. And I'm watching the first couple innings. He's got nothing. He has hit a wall. So they have no advantage, no edge at all, even if they're using a bullpen game.
If Alonso doesn't make that catch in the first inning, who knows how that game goes?
Yeah, you could tell he had no command at all. He didn't have zip.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
Going up against the Mets?
Pitchers just get to a point where fatigue hits. It's like you don't have the same snap
Or just
on your pitches.
patience against the Mets pitching. Wild how that worked out for a team that hit home runs and was able to just...
Salt in the wound, Ray.
Sorry, I'm sitting there watching it like, okay, the game plan to go against the Mets bullpen was the game plan that's been out there all season.
Yeah, well.
But as sad as it was to see the Phillies lose, could you imagine being a Mets and a Jets fan this morning when you wake up?
Oh, man, that's so bad.
So the Mets are eliminated, and the Jets organization continues to be just an absolute dumpster fire. It doesn't matter who
Rodgers.
they bring in. They bring in Aaron Rodgers. He has his way. Bring me Devontae Adams. Go out and get Hassan Reddick. Do all these things. Get all the players I want, and they still stink. They got dominated by Russell Wilson last
Yeah,
night.
there's just some franchises that can't get it together.
Alternate.
They just can't.
Imagine being Robert Saleh this morning.
Well,
Birds are chirping, sun's shining, coffee tastes good.
Yeah, he's getting paid.
You're getting paid, and you get to watch that train
Going
wreck
to the
from
grocery store.
the sideline.
Yeah, and-
No carriage.
He'll get a
No
defensive
car.
coordinator job next year.
Sure he will.
He was always a good DC. But today is not about Robert Saleh. It's about our Philadelphia Eagles,
Dog
Raymond.
mentality.
It's about our Philadelphia Eagles. Look, we're talking a lot about Saquon and all that. Jalen only had to throw the ball 14 times. Do you think that's a recipe going forward for them to win football games, Mike?
He's going to have to be better in certain games because certain teams are going to let them just dominate running the football. So he's still going to have to make some plays. But yesterday, he did what he needed to do. Yeah, listen, I think we've shortchanged that throw he made. Now,
It's about the fourth down throw.
Yeah, A.J. Brown, as a veteran receiver, found a way to kind of move that guy off him in the pattern. But that throw was a dime.
With pressure in his face.
With pressure in his face, the circumstance of that throw on a 4th and 3, that it had to be perfect. Because if you don't make that throw, you go, oh, man, you wasted that. Again, you got greedy, and that was the wrong play to call. He dropped it right in there.
Yeah, he did, and it was a bit. 4th and 1, you don't convert that. I think it's a 7-0 game at that point, if I'm not mistaken, right? It was 7-0 when they make that decision to go for it. But I liked the aggressiveness of going for it. If I'm being honest, when I saw him drop back and throw a bomb, I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing? And then it works. So
It worked because
Kudos.
it's A.J. Brown. Now, he made a couple catches last week. The balls were kind of short. But he's strong. He's going to ward off a guy and make a catch.
But something that was said a couple of weeks ago, and I forget who it was, may have been Jalen. They were talking about how they're still trying to find their identity, that this team is still trying to find their identity. When you look at this team now, a 6-game sample size, I think the identity should be a run-heavy football team. When you have an offensive line like they have and you have a weapon like Saquon Barkley, why not utilize it in the running game and also utilize Jalen Hurts in the running game? And I know people were down on Kenny Gainwell last year. How about Kenny Gainwell, 13 carries, 56 yards?
Very good change of pace back.
So I think the recipe for this team,
Wait, at least in that game.
well, yeah, but I think the recipe for this team would be a run-first type of team, and then when things start to loosen up in the passing game because they start to bring down players into the box to take away Saquon, take away that running game, boom, now you hit A.J.,
I
Devontae.
agree with you, but the peril of that is that you run him ragged.
Well, that's why you need a Kenny Gainwell to
Yeah.
also be involved.
Yeah.
You can't
Or
abuse
everybody's
Saquon.
other favorite guy, Will Shipley.
Hey, he got some carries yesterday.
In garbage time.
Yeah, he did.
All right, 610. Let's go to the text board. 610-632-0975. What are the people saying about Bill?
First time texter here, Joe from Gibbstown. So the Eagles go out and blow out a terrible Giants team after the way they looked last week, and I'm supposed to just jump back on the train?
Oh, come on now.
I don't think
They're
so.
still skeptical.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that. Now, if they didn't blow out this team, we'd be saying the other, they should have blown them out. They did everything you would want to see outside of first quarter points, right? I mean, the defense shut them down, gave up 3 damn points. That's 12 points in 2 weeks and 13 sacks. What else do you want this defense to do but dominate bad teams? I don't like that mentality, and that's why I was trying to tell people before that I didn't think the Giants were as bad as, well, they looked bad, but they weren't as bad coming in. The Commanders didn't do this to them. Commanders squeaked by 21-18 in their game. You can only play who's on the schedule, and they've dominated. The defense has dominated 2 weeks in a row, and now the offense joined in yesterday. I don't like that mentality, Mike. I think fans should be excited today.
Yeah,
I like it. I'm happy
I
today.
just
I
can't.
won double digits.
I just can't get rid of the vision of Sirianni carrying the cross through Philly, and he falls under the weight of the cross. And the Philadelphia police soldiers forced Simon of South Philly to help Sirianni carry the cross.
Well, you do know that they are undefeated since Nick Sirianni shaved his head. Undefeated, Ray.
And Mary comes out and dabs him. I'm sorry. I can't help myself. I'm telling biblical stories here.
38-19 in Nick Sirianni's career.
Oh, my God. This is
38
not going to stop. And you
19.
posted
So
that
much
as
good.
well yesterday. You posted that, didn't you?
I did not post that
You
one.
know?
No,
Did you text me?
I probably will.
He texted me, I think. I couldn't get away from him, Ray.
well, we talked
I
Could
about
blocked
not
his
get
number.
away from him. You did? He was just relentless.
We talked a lot last week. Look, you can't have it both ways. And this is more for the fans than you and Ray. But last season, down the stretch, especially that New York game in Week 18 at MetLife Stadium, the whole narrative was this team is checked out on their head coach. Look, they're not playing for their head coach. They don't respect their head coach. Well, you can't say that last year and then not give this coach credit with the week that they had that the team showed up.
I don't think they checked out on him. I just don't think that they play for him necessarily. But I don't think pro players play for any coach. So I'm a bad source when it comes to that. I just don't think his shenanigans, I think, mostly get eye rolls from savvy players.
You may not be wrong. But I felt like this week, at least the version of Nick Sirianni we saw, was a very subdued, humble head coach. And maybe that's what he needed. Maybe last week was going to be the changing where we're going to look back when this team goes on a run and say, hey, remember that Cleveland Browns game? Remember that press conference when he had his kids on his lap? That was the change. That was where everything started to go right for this Philadelphia Eagles football team.
Ray, I can't take it. Ray, you got to save me. You got to be part.
I just want to know if you believe that.
You got to have my part here today. I can't. I just can't take.
Yeah.
I would just want to, do you believe that? Like deep down, in your heart, Bill, when you like.
He does.
Look, the only
does believe it. Here's the thing about Bill. He had to be down a little bit. He knew he couldn't praise Sirianni.
I was mad at him last week.
After those moments. But you were just waiting for some kind of positive drift to come through so you can unleash the torrent on the Sirianni haters.
Because I'll say it again. This is what I said last week. I didn't like what Sirianni did. Most fans didn't like what Sirianni did. Local and nationally, they didn't like what Sirianni did. But all that mattered was how the players were going to respond to Nick Sirianni.
All right, listen, I need a break. I need a long break, and this is it. 610-632-0975. The 10 o'clock hour of the Mike Missanelli Show has been brought to you by, oh, my God, I wish I could find these things when I need them. Oh, here it is. Hold on. No, I don't
Window
have
Nation.
Window Nation, right? What? Tell us about Window Nation.
Yeah, Window Nation's great. We love the fact they bring us to 10
I
o'clock
got it.
hour. There we go.
I got
Take advantage of Window Nation's 50% off sale on all style windows. Plus, make no down payment with no payments and no interest for
there
12
you
full
go.
months. Call 866-90Nation or visit
Beautiful.
windownation.com.
Thank you very much. We're back after this. Don't go anywhere. after the Eagles beat the Giants. I'm just getting that impression. It's funny. We come in, we anticipate what the reaction is going to be. And we go, you know what? The Eagles needed a win to get this fan base all excited back again. I'm not sensing the excitement an hour into the show. Not sensing it yet. Maybe people aren't excited. Maybe they're just, they're laying low. They're not convinced yet. I don't believe.
And I think that they should be.
One game they can't convince them. But I expected that there would be a little more excitement because they saw a formula that really worked yesterday. There are two things that we were looking at, whether they could move the ball offensively and have some kind of identity, and secondly, whether they could actually get to the quarterback. And they did both of those yesterday.
And I know what you just said. You said after one game, they're not going to be back all
They
in.
beat Cincinnati. Yeah, maybe.
I keep looking at the first 6 games of the season and saying this isn't just one game. You beat Green Bay in Brazil. Is anybody out there not thinking that Green Bay is a good football team?
Nah, discount that first game. Can't tell.
All right. So we're just going to throw out Green Bay. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you go and you play Atlanta, and you're a Saquon Barkley catch that he makes 99.9% of the time away.
Can't look at it that way.
That would be a win.
Can't look at it that way.
Then you go on the road to a New Orleans team that was red hot at the time.
They stink.
And you beat New Orleans. You get dominated in the back-to-back road game against Tampa, but you didn't have A.J., you didn't have Devontae, you didn't have Lane Johnson, so you could almost excuse that, and now you've won 2 in a row.
People don't want to excuse those kind of things. That's the thing. You need to impress people. It doesn't matter who you're without. They're not going to process that. Eagle fans not going to say, well, they were without. They're not going to say that. They're programmed to say, well, you should be able to replace them. If you're a really good team and you're coached very well, you should be able to be a better representative in that game.
Here's what bothers me about that argument. I made a point last week that the Philadelphia Eagles put up more passing yards against the Cleveland Browns than any team had this season, and the refute to that was, well, the Browns had a lot of injuries on defense. So it's like you can't have it both ways. So if you're not going to give the Eagles an excuse for losing to the Bucs when they had all those injuries, then you can't give the opponents the excuse when they have injuries.
You certainly can have it both ways. That's what a fan base does. They have it both ways. They have it both ways all the time.
But I really believe that the reason why fans aren't as excited right now as I think they should be with a 4-2 football team in light of everything that they've been through the offseason and the start of this year with the travel and the back-to-back games and the injuries, all goes down to what happened last year. And I think fans need to put that behind them. The collapse you saw last year was a different team. It was almost an entirely different defense. It was a different offensive coordinator, a different defensive coordinator. This is a new team.
Listen, you're asking me why I think that people. You brought up all these little circumstances. Oh, well, who beat the Packers in Brazil? Well, the first game you didn't have any idea what the hell was going to happen. You don't know how good the Packers were. So that didn't impress people that much. That was a game where, you got by. We don't know yet.
Packers are 5-2 now.
I get it now, and you look back at it. You're looking back at it. I'm talking about at the time. So they're not going to be that impressed after the first game. They lose to the Falcons, and they're not going to say, well, they were Saquon Barkley drop away from winning that game. They lost the game. They're not going to look at it that way like you look at it.
But that's reality.
Saints,
Saints, again, the defense shut them down. Look, I have been very critical of this defense. I was upset with the defense.
It's gone up, down, up, down. Now they get 2 straight wins. That team that they beat yesterday looked dreadful. So I'm not saying that the Eagles aren't a good team. I'm not saying that what you saw yesterday was more because the Eagles were dominant than the Giants suck. I am telling you why people aren't reacting with the fervor that you expect them to react to today.
I understand it to an extent, but I still feel, and we need to get more calls to get a true pulse of the fan base, but I still feel like there are fans who are leaning more towards the negative. Like, I get maybe not jumping all in and saying this is a Super Bowl team.
I think you're right. I think you can't go from hating the head coach to a complete reversal like you have done. But you didn't want to go down the doldrums either with Sirianni. People wanted to go down in the doldrums with that guy because he's not that likable to this fan base. So you're like one win against the Giants isn't going to go, I was wrong about Sirianni. He's a wonderful motivator and a coach, and they play for him. It's just not going to happen that way. Now, if they beat the Bengals, we'll start maybe to warm up a little bit to it. Got me?
I understand.
All right, let's go to a true Penn State man. By the way, the 11 o'clock hour of the Mike Missanelli Show. It's brought to you by Grungo Law, your law firm when you need help because of an injury. Pray for peace, prepare for trial, grungolaw.com. Here's Saquon, who was really, listen, he knows what's going on, all right? He knows what to say. He stays humble for a great player, the whole bit. That's what he's all about. He's a typical Penn State-bred professional football player. And so here he comes. I know people just hate that, especially you Temple people out there. You just can't stand it when I go there. Saquon saying he had a lot of good conversations coming into this game.
I had a lot of great conversation this week from family members, from friends, teammates, AJ, Jalen, P, strength staff, Autumn, D Wood, Jody, our therapist. You know, they did a really good job of checking in on me this week. You know, I didn't really make it more than what it was, but even if I did, you know, it's helpful to have. You know, I've only been in this team for 3 or 4 months, however long, and this organization for however long. But it's a comfortable feeling when you know that you can go to a hostile environment and there's a lot of people that on your side has your back.
That's just an A answer, right? It's an A answer.
He's a class act.
Okay,
really
so now
is.
let's go to Saquon 14, and this tops that previous answer.
Yeah, I don't think it's this week. It's every week, you know. Howie took a chance on me. The whole organization took a chance on me, and I'm thankful for it. You know? Stuff like that means a lot to me. That's why there's no hate in my heart with the Giants organization. They drafted me, brought me in, you know, help a kid live his dream. Same thing with the Eagles. You know, I hit free agency, not knowing how things are going to shake up, and, you know, it was able to find a home in the place I love, and I'm excited to be here. So it's not about proving anybody right or proving anybody wrong. Going out there and being myself, and, you know, when I tend to go out there and be myself, a lot of things fall in line.
Oh, what a guy. He makes me so proud of my school.
He is a class act, man. He is a class act. And I tweeted this out this morning because there were some people who questioned the Eagles for signing a running back to that much money. And the tweet I gave this morning was, it was a smart move in light of the fact that the wide receiver market exploded. Because you look at the Atlanta Falcons, they gave Darnell Mooney 3 years, $39 million. Well, the Eagles said, you know what? Instead of overpaying a wide receiver, we're going to pay a weapon like Saquon. We're going to give him 3 years, $37.75 million. Look at the production to start
Let's
the year.
not get so carried away with the Eagles and their stance on running backs here all of a sudden.
But this is
oh my God, they have cheapened the running back position for years.
They have, but when you saw the wide receiver market blow up like that, like a guy like Mooney in 7 games has a little over 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. Saquon in only 6 games has close to 800 total yards and 6 touchdowns. It was smart to take advantage of the market and say, you know what? People are overvaluing wide receivers. They're undervaluing running backs. We're going to pay a weapon as opposed to a third wide receiver that's not going to do
And
that.
how many years did it take them to come to that kind of a conclusion?
Well, the market's changed.
The market's changed.
Look, I get on Howie.
That they didn't grit their teeth when they decided to pay him $12.5 million. You're crazy.
I get on Howie for some of the defensive decisions he's made. Excuse me. But this decision was smart because they saw a weakness in the market. Me, I'm getting all choked up.
See, he's all choked up.
He's emotional.
He is.
He's actually physically pained by giving Howie credit here. He had the pitchfork out for Howie a couple weeks ago, and now he's got to come back and give a little props, and I think he's a little hurt by it.
Man, I got tears in my eyes just thinking of Nick Sirianni.
What a leader he is. Are we going to lose Bill for like the rest of the segment here? I think he's out.
Bill's all messed up, man. He went down the wrong pipe,
I do
as my
imagine.
mother used to say.
I imagine him standing in front of his TV yesterday, just fired up, maybe slightly in tears as they took that lead.
I started yelling at my wife about, saying, Nick Sirianni, you see? She's like, what are you telling me for?
Gulp a lozenge, will you? For crying out loud. All right.
My grandma used to say that, too. It goes down the wrong pipe. There's only one
down the
pipe.
wrong pipe.
Isn't there only one pipe?
Yeah, sometimes it goes down the lung area. Let's go to Greg in Bethlehem. Greg, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Greg.
Hey, guys. You got to love the Penn State alumni. Makes me proud to hear his comments. But, you know, I think we got to give Sirianni credit for staying out of the offense as much as possible.
Greg, come on, man. I can't take it. So when the offense doesn't perform, people say Sirianni's putting his hands in there. And when the offense does perform, it's because he stayed out of the way. You can't have it like that. You got to give the guy credit.
Sure you can. You just got to look at the facts. But, I hope that the Eagles don't look at the success in the running game in the last game as an anomaly, but rather a blueprint for success down the road where appropriate. I would like to see them feature the run first approach for 2 games in a row where appropriate, and then I'd be more confident that the Eagles brass know what they're doing.
Well, I hear what you're saying there, Greg, but here's the thing, and we can't get away from it. This is not a running league. You're going to have to throw the football. So there's going to be a lot of defensive adjustments now. Okay, they're giving the ball to Saquon. They're giving it, here's what they're going to do, blah, blah, blah. And they're going to try to shut that down and dare that quarterback to make plays in the middle of the field.
Sure, well, then you get the quick slants open up.
Yeah,
and then
which they should run 20 times a game, by the way. I tweeted that out.
Absolutely.
It's an unstoppable play, and they only go to it a couple times.
And I don't understand that, but, if they make the other team play the run, it's going to make this quick slants even more accessible.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. You're right. It's got to be. It shouldn't be that complicated of a game plan when you have these certain weapons on this team.
Well, I just can't understand the Eagles' philosophy sometimes. It seems like they're willing to try anything, like they throw something on the wall and hope it sticks, rather than have a unified identity and make it work.
I get you. I hear you. Again, the league. This is a tough league. There's not a blueprint that you can do every week. You just can't. We're running a team. We're going to run down your throat, and that's the way it's going to be. In the NFL, you can maybe do that in college. In the NFL, they adjust. They do things. They have supreme athletes on the other side of that ball.
Yeah, and as bad as some fans may think it is, Greg said, they just throw things against the wall, hope it sticks. You're talking about a top 10 offense in the NFL right now. They're top 10.
610-632-0975, and they are top 10 because the head coach is an offensive man. It's the Mike Missanelli Show. Back after this. 11:19. Mike Missanelli Show. 97.5 The Fanatic. Here's how you get in. 610-632-0975. Let me read this tweet. I'm pretty sure this is a nom de plume or a burner account of Bill, but it says 76ers won. This is a tweet to my account. You can tweet me at MikeMiss25. And it's addressed to me and you, but you address this to yourself, I think. Here's what it says. I don't give a damn about the fan base being back on the team. I never left the team because I know that this season wasn't over at 3-2 and a Barkley drop away from 4-1 at the time. Well, let me just say this about leaving the team, right? Leaving the team is not like you leave the team in reality. You leave the team, it's part of a frustration bluster when you say something like that. You don't actually leave the team. You just sound off your frustration. And that makes you a real fan. See, not a Pollyanna fan. I love these people that say, I was on the team the whole time. I don't understand. You support your team at any... No, you don't support your team at any cost. You get frustrated with your team during many costs, right? That's part of being a fan. You get frustrated. You don't actually leave them. You're going to still be with them, but you have the license to express your frustration when things aren't going well.
You do. But my point, leading into yesterday's game, was that people's frustrations were overblown. There was such an over-the-top negativity surrounding this team, and I think a lot of it had to do with the fact of the way last season ended and the fact that they wanted the coach gone. But when you took a step back and tried to be objective, they were 3-2. Now they're 4-2.
So you did write this tweet.
I did not.
This is definitely your tweet. This is your burner account, 76ers won?
No, that wouldn't be my burner account. It would be Sirianni Coach of the Year. That would be my Twitter handle.
I think you're throwing people off because you really haven't talked about the Sixers. So if you got under the identity of a handle like 76ers won, people won't think it's you.
Could you imagine having the time on your hands to create a burner, though? Like, who has time? Ray probably has
people have. I have time. People have like 5 different burner accounts on Twitter.
Yeah, I could.
You never tell. That's why they can say harsh things through a burner account, right? Like, I don't have a burner account. Mine's Mike Miss25.
No, you don't have a burner. You say how you feel.
Yeah, I say it on Mike Miss25. Like, what do I care?
But really,
my thoughts.
What has been so over the top, though, terrible about this Eagles team? They haven't scored first quarter points. They still are not creating turnovers on defense. They still only have 2 takeaways.
They weren't regarded as an elite team, Bill, for the first several weeks. Whether you want to bury that or not, a lot of people around the NFL, like all these ex-players, these national pundits that are looking at football, that team, they're not impressing me enough to say they're an elite team.
I'm with you on that. I still don't think they've proven to be an elite team. But when we're talking about the fan base and where they were with the football team, I just felt like checking out with a 3-2 team was over the top. And now you dominated the Giants, and there's still fans saying, yeah, but it's just the Giants. Eagles are 4-2 right now after 6 games with a whole lot of change, with a difficult schedule to start the season.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing the schedule ease up a little, and now the teams they're dominating. The defense dominated last week. They dominated again yesterday. The offense dominated yesterday. It's a step in the right direction. Are they an elite team? I don't know. I haven't looked like an elite team, but I think they're progressing the right way. And I said this last week, look what happened with the Phillies. You don't want to peak too early. So if this team continues to ascend and they start to peak at the right time, I'll take it.
All right, let's go to Joe from the Jersey Shore. What's up, Joe?
Hey, guys. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you, Joe?
Good. I look at it this way. I think the fan base, we're just about got all the green goop out of our throats from last season. And that's what everybody's just kind of been chomping on. To use your word last week from the game, cud. We're just about got all that cud out of our systems. And, yes, definitely trending in the right direction. Second game in a row, you got a W. Second game in a row, no QB turnovers. Second game in a row, defense holds the team, holds the opposition to no TDs. And the biggest thing for me is Big Dom kept Sirianni away from the fans yesterday. So I think that was huge. But no, seriously, trending in the right direction, and this weekend is going to be a test. The Achilles heel right now and just can't figure it out. What's going on in the first quarter? It just is, and you can't play 3 quarters of football.
Yeah, it is kind of weird that they're not able to move the football.
It's bizarre.
It's totally bizarre.
I mean, is it? There's a mental block. There's something, and I mean, when you look at what Jalen kind of did in the first quarter,
he looked confused.
You're just scratching your head, saying,
he looked confused. He wasn't seeing the field. I don't know what it is. They were lucky yesterday they didn't play a powerhouse offensive team because they get off the bad starts and they get behind, and it messes up their whole. If they got behind in that game, could they have done the same thing with the running game?
I know that makes you think like that. That's why you can't rely on 3 quarters to get a W. But think about that. My daughter and son-in-law went to the game yesterday, and they said it was a sea of green. But think about this. Both the Jets and the Giants share a stadium. They both are horrible organizations, and those fan bases are so demoralized right now. And on top of that, neither one of those teams have New Jersey in their name. And it's just bizarre. And I mean, I'm a Jersey-born kid, and I've just never figured that out. But I guess that's just part of professional sports.
Well, I don't know. Where are you gonna build a stadium in Middle Manhattan?
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
You kind of can't play in New York, can you?
No.
That's coming up. 7:32 on the Mike Missanelli Show. I want to give you the numbers because I don't know how. I need to learn about you folks. This is a game, they win the game, and you're not sold, and that's fine. That's fine. But I want you to tell me why you're not sold at 610-632-0975. But for now, this is fresh because we all watched football over the weekend. Once the Eagles were done, we tuned to other things. There was a game on last night. It was a couple of big games in the NFL. So it is time now for the fastest 5 minutes in Sports Talk Radio. It's called Around the NFL. All right, let's start with the big game of the day. Fight for supremacy in the NFC North. The Lions, man, they are tough. Detroit went into Minnesota, took out the previously undefeated Vikings, winning it on a field goal by Jake Bates, a refugee from the United Football League, or as we know it, the UFL. And now the Vikings have taken a 1-point lead on this 39-yard fumble recovery by Ivan Rice until that field goal.
This time Montgomery, Bynum grabbed him. That ball is out. Picked up by Pace. Down the sideline. There is a flag. He's in. Minnesota leads.
Okay. Now, they take the lead. But you know Jared Goff is pretty damn good, Bill. Goff, 22 for 25 for 280 with 2 TDs and no picks. And he got his team into game-winning field goal range by getting 48 yards in 4 plays. Jahmyr Gibbs, 116 yards, rushing 2 second-quarter TDs. The Lions are 6-1. All right, number 2. Well, the Chiefs. They're officially the 49ers kryptonite. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid have now beaten the Niners 5 straight times. They took them apart yesterday, 28-18. Now, Mahomes, not a big day. He was 16 for 27 for 154, but he made his usual acrobatic throws all game. And with the team separated by only 2 points in this game, Mahomes did this to set up a big touchdown.
Pressure. Mahomes senses it. Steps away. Gets around Fred Warner. Oh, what a run. Now dances for foul. He's still in bounds. Patrick Mahomes racing to the end zone, and he's out of bounds. They mark him at the 4. How did he do that?
He's unbelievable when he does little things like that. He can't run even, and he finds he wiggles his way down the field.
He doesn't look as athletic as he is.
It's unbelievable. Anyway, without Christian McCaffrey, this 49ers team is struggling. They're now 3-4 in the year. Brock Purdy, don't believe the hype. The Chiefs defense and Steve Spagnuolo, my buddy, they engulfed them, and they picked them off 3 times. All right, number 3. Oh, you can't stop Marcus Mariota. You can only hope to contain him. Commanders phenom Jaden Daniels got his ribs banged up early in the game, and Mariota came off the deck to the rescue, leading Washington to a 40-7 thrashing of the seriously bad Carolina Panthers. In relief, Mariota goes 18 for 23 for 205 yards and 2 touchdowns, one of them being this.
Mariota tosses, touchdown, snagged by Ertz. Commanders pouring it on.
Mariota to Zach Ertz. Oh, how about that? Nostalgia. Ray Dunn went 11 for 16 for 93 yards for the Panthers. Yeah, Andy Dalton, folks. He's now, that's a good move. He's now 0-5 after replacing Bryce Young as the Carolina starter. He stinks. All right, number 4. Brandon McManus, the pride of Temple U, fueled by Temple's Saturday win over Tulsa. McManus drills a game-winning final play, 45-yard field goal. Here it is.
Got this to win it. Low snap, the kick. It is good.
Yes, McManus. And afterwards, he did a Lambeau leap. A kicker in the Lambeau leap? Come on, get out of there. The balls of this guy. Well, it's been a really crazy year for McManus. He was out of a job this year after 2 women accused him of sexual assault on a charter flight. The league investigated. They said, nah, it didn't happen. They cleared him. The Packers signed him this week after releasing their rookie Braden Narvison. And McManus even made this kick not in Denver. He made it in Green Bay. Temple U. The cherry and the white. Fight, fight, fight. All right, number 5. All right, now to college. I can get off the NFL and go to college. Georgia. Big win Saturday at Texas. knocks the Longhorns out of the top spot, moves Georgia to number 2 ahead of Penn State. So typical. Penn State, prejudice and jealousy all over the place. But Georgia coach Kirby Smart, man, I'm so tired of hearing coaches say this. Shut the hell up. Here it is.
Nobody gave us a chance. Your whole network doubted us. Nobody believed us. And then they tried to rob us with calls in this place.
Nobody gave us a chance. Not over y'all. Shut the hell up. I'm so tired of hearing this. Nobody gave us a chance. Of course people gave you a chance.
Everybody's looking for a chip on their shoulder, man, to give them that extra motivation. That's what that is. Us against the world.
All right, that's around the NFL today, and a little touching on college football. Yeah. Penn State's sitting there idle.
Good stuff by you.
That's fine. That's just move some team ahead of them. That's because it's Penn State and we hate them. Let's just move somebody ahead of them, Ray. Right?
Well, yeah, you had said that the USC win was, you went out there, you won. That is Georgia going down to Texas and beating Texas.
Yeah, so they were number 5 and they beat Texas. Then let's just put them
number 1.
Let's just put them ahead of Penn State. Put them ahead.
Hey, you got a big couple weeks coming up here. You could be number 1 by the end of this time.
They're not going to be number 1.
They beat Ohio State?
You think the voters are going to vote them ahead of an SEC school?
If they beat Ohio State and are unbeaten by the time we come back around here in November, 4th it would be after that?
Right. Let's cross that imaginary bridge when it happens.
No. I want to set this up because if I'm a voter right now and I have the thought process they're not beating Ohio State, then why am I bothering putting them even higher?
Yeah.
If I'm not convinced of the best team in their conference.
Hey, listen, all I can tell you is here's my poster child. Saquon. Here you go. Let me put him out there. Poster child for Penn State football.
Say what?
No rats.
Saquon.
No rats.
He was unbelievable, man. He really was unbelievable. I mean, I knew he was good. I didn't realize that he was still this good, Mike. I mean, he absolutely
not even
dominated.
Catching the ball. I expected he'd have, like, Westbrook catches every game.
So you talk about Westbrook. Let me ask you this. Is Saquon Barkley the best running back we've ever seen in an Eagles uniform?
I don't think there's any question about that.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
he's got speed and power and catching ability. There's never been like a back like that. I mean, listen, he's got a long way to go to make his bones here as an Eagle over the Shadys and the
yes.
Westbrooks and the Wilbert Montgomerys. But look at the skill set.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like in franchise history, no, you're going to look at the numbers, but just simply wearing an Eagles uniform.
Yes. There goes with the coughing again. What is something going on with Bill's respiratory system?
He was celebrating so much last night after Sirianni's signature win.
It's got to be the Sirianni giddiness.
I'll tell you what, when you got a tickle in your throat, this job's really hard. You know that?
Smoked too many victory cigars last night. Popped a bottle of champagne.
Can we hear from Sirianni, Ray? I'm going to let you pick. Let's patronize Bill here. Okay, here it is. Let's go Sirianni 14 and how he could tell the players had his back.
In what ways could you feel the players getting your back this week?
Shoot, just going to work and going again and getting up and going again and going again. And I love these guys. I love this team. You go through things, and we've been through a lot of ups. We've been through a lot of downs, and it's controlling what you can control and ripping to the next one.
What was that again thing? Again and again.
I don't know.
What was that?
That was a little southern twang.
Where'd that come from?
I don't know.
He says again weird.
He does?
Yeah. No, this has been, unfortunately, of the times that we sit here and listen to him drone on. Again.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, everyone else is focused on right. I hear the again.
Let's go to Nick Sirianni 10 because I want to milk this because Bill. I want Bill to get his voice back.
It sounds like the guys rallied around you. As a coach, how does that make you feel? How do you react to that?
You just judge your relationships that you have with the guys, and that's why you're always constantly working to connect because you don't anyone can connect in good times. You work to connect so you get together closer as a team in bad times.
It sounds like the guys rallied around you. Where's that sound come from? Where'd the sound come from? What, with the scoreboard?
What it sounded? Well, I think it was Ray, keep it going, I guess. Sirianni 3 is where I think maybe that was a follow-up question.
Oh, okay. All
the
right.
thing that I learned this week, and I told the team that it happened a bunch of different ways. There was a bunch of different ways that I learned this week. It wasn't just through the situation that I was in. It was through, I'm not even going to go into all that, but it's like you can be angry, but all anger does is cloud your ability to get better. Right, and control the things that you need to control. So what I said to the team is like, I put my head down. When you have criticism, when you have those different things, you put your head down and you work even harder. And the thing about that is, the hard work that the team had and that we had throughout the week helped put us in position to be successful today. And the other thing it does, to be quite honest with you, is it unites. And so you can look at it as a positive if you allow yourself to do that. And so I think that this game is constantly teaching us things, and that's what it taught me this week.
Unites, Ray. Unites. The team rallied behind their head coach.
Yep. Not a big emotional game for the running back they all love. Just a big emotional week for their head coach.
Now, listen, I'm obviously being a little facetious here, going over the top in the praise of Sirianni. It's a shtick. But I will say, this could have gone the other way. There is a universe here where when your head coach is being called a clown on a national level by every single major media outlet, this could have gone the other way. And the fact that it didn't does signal to me that this team respects their head coach. We talked about it. Do they respect their head coach? I think you would have saw a different performance from this team if they did not, in light of the week that this guy had.
I don't know. I think you go entirely too far with that whole premise. I really do.
Could you imagine? They play a team with a competent offense. They get off to the start they do in the first quarter. They go down 7-0. Do you think we have the conversation to say, wow, they really rallied around that guy?
Hold on. We can't do the ifs if we're also not allowed to say.
You're doing the ifs.
Well, wait. We can't do the ifs if we're not allowed to say if Saquon catches the ball against the Falcons, they win the game. So
I don't do that.
You're throwing something into this mix that I didn't. You're throwing here.
That if.
Your if is they rallied around him. You have surmised they rallied around him. What I am saying is in this alternate reality that, may or may not exist, the one that I present to you is, hey, if they had this entire week lead up and they fell behind early, are we all going to all of a sudden say, oh, yeah, they rallied behind? They might. You might be getting what you want, and I am so happy for you, Bill.
Yeah, but
I hope your holiday season's fantastic with Sirianni love for the next 2 months.
Sirianni love.
We got to cut a version of that. Sirianni knows how to coach. This is going to be the theme of the song of this show.
Oh my God! Listen, like I say, I'm disarmed. I don't happen to covered sports like I rarely see pro players play for a coach. I think it's the plan that does it. It's the talent that eventually does it. It's Saquon Barkley going for 55 yards that does it. It's not really playing for the coach.
Well, we're talking about
playing for the coach. They would have against Ray said they would have come out with a like a ball of fury, and they didn't.
So what happened down the stretch last season? Why did they lose 6 of 7? Because a lot of the blame was put on the head coach. A lot of the blame where fans, media wanted him fired.
I don't know why. I look at it, I didn't say it was directly because the Sirianni they were losing. What I said was he didn't do anything to change the dynamic of that losing streak, which to me made him unqualified to come back. That's all I said.
Would you at least acknowledge that through the first 7 weeks of this season, so they had their bye, so we're talking 7 weeks, and the offseason, that this team, this Philadelphia Eagles team, has had a lot of adversity already? With the travel, with the injuries, with the drama that the coach created, rightfully so, he created it, but they faced a lot of adversity.
Wow, what is your definition of adversity? What are you talking about adversity?
You don't think there was a lot of adversity this week?
Was because they had a couple injured players? What adversity we talking about? So because somebody on a national sports show ripped into him? Like what adversity
It
went
wasn't
into
somebody.
What adversity?
It was everybody.
What adversity went into the locker room? That was so. What was the traumatic part of this whole thing that was destroying them inside the locker room? They were it's their early season. They're trying to negotiate an early season. It's not even gotten to the point of adversity. When you get adversity, you get later in the seasons where adversity hits.
Okay, there's been a ton of adversity already. First of all, not only with the injuries, they get absolutely crushed by the Tampa Bay Bucks. Crushed. People are calling for this guy's job. And then you've played sports. You have to hear not only one person, but everyone calling your coach a clown. Calling for this guy's job. Even if you try to block out the outside noise, it's impossible with the fever pitch that it was this week.
As a pro player, what are you supposed to do about that? Fall apart? You get paid to play. You're not going to.
The reason I bring this up,
let that stuff affect you that much early in the season.
The reason I bring this up is because a lot of the narrative last season was that the moment adversity hit, when the Eagles got dominated by the San Francisco 49ers, that they were never able to recover. And a lot of the rhetoric directed towards the head coach was he couldn't stop that. He couldn't guide the ship through those choppy waters.
But the adversity was real then. They changed their defensive coordinator in mid-flight. You had guys that were storming out of the locker room, not talking to the press. Those are the kind of things that break down a team. That's adversity.
And you don't
what is
think
adversity here? A couple guys were injured?
You don't think
everybody gets injured in the NFL?
You don't think that, first of all,
I think you're making too much of the fact that some people were calling him a clown because he yelled at some people in the front row as adversity. That's not real. It's not real adversity. That's like
Mike. Coming into this season, the fan base, and it still exists, was waiting for the first time that this team stumbled even a little bit to then call for this guy's job.
So the fan base doesn't like the head coach. Is not enough adversity to break down a team.
And then you accompany that with the fact that you've had the injuries, that you had all the road games, that you had Brazil, then you have Sirianni do what he did last week, and you have everyone nationally calling him a clown.
I got to ask you this question. You actually believe in that's like concentrated adversity that could break a team down? Like little circumstances like him getting criticized by Nick Wright? Like what? That's adversity to a player?
You don't think that this team battled adversity this week?
Adversity is adversity. I know it when I see it. This is it's just like, I don't know, a little snag. A snag's that shouldn't break down a team that has good personnel.
When was the last time that a head coach in the NFL was universally referred to as a clown by every single media outlet that exists? That's what happened this week. You turned on ESPN. You turned on any channel, and the bottom ticker was Nick Sirianni's a clown.
You're saying that somehow is supposed to collapse grown men who play football for a living. That circumstance alone is supposed I can't perform today because Nick Wright said something bad about my head coach. Are you kidding me?
A weaker team with a weaker locker room,
adversity is
going
on a losing streak. Adversity is a player being a pain in the ass that you have to deal with. That's real adversity. This isn't adversity.
This is the definition of adversity.
Oh, my God. 610-632-0975. We're back after this. One on the Mike Missanelli Show, noontime. Everybody enjoying your lunch. I hope you are, whatever you're eating. Thanks for hanging with us and listening to the program. 12 o'clock hour is brought to you by Service First Heating and Air Conditioning. Get 0% financing for 12 months, or excuse me, for 72 months, not 12. A lot more than 12. And a $500 rebate when you purchase a complete heating and cooling system from Service First. Learn more at ServiceFirstHVAC.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the news at noon.
There's a whole lot going on in this world. It's time to catch up. Here's the news at noon. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
The news at noon is where Ray Dunn goes around the world and finds 2, maybe 3 stories that we react to that are reactable. Ray, what do you got today?
All right, I got 2 college football, and then we'll get you an NFL story to wrap up today's news at noon. Starting out in the SEC, Missouri with the big win over Auburn. Did you catch any of this game?
No.
Me neither. But great story coming out of this one. Their quarterback, Brady Cook, ends up leaving the opening drive. Did not look like he was going to come back and play. Comes back in the fourth quarter, led 2 touchdown drives. They come from behind, win on their homecoming for the senior quarterback. The scene that he describes, though, as he is brought to the hospital on Missouri's campus, is one that if you are a late arriver to a game, one that likes to tailgate into the first quarter, I can imagine would be a concerning one if you haven't paid at all attention to the game.
I was literally just with one of our trainers in a truck, with non-tinted windows. So, we're driving through the tailgate areas, random areas. I'm seeing people, make eye contact with me. It's weird. They're like, what is going on? So, yeah, that's the transportation for you.
Imagine the panic of being the fan sitting out there with no idea what's happening, watching your quarterback being driven in a truck towards the hospital in the first quarter with no idea what happened.
So he went to the hospital, got checked out, and came back?
Came back. He was in the hospital. It was about an hour and a half between when he left the game, went to the hospital, got checked out, took the pads off. He said there was one last treatment they could do to make it work. Whatever it was, we didn't get an answer on that.
Well, what was the problem?
He hurt his ankle. Got an MRI done, whole thing. Yeah, they were.
Ankle?
Yeah.
He did an MRI, he was okay, got back in the game?
They got him back in the game. Somehow, some way. Opening series, back in the fourth quarter.
A little dramatic to take him to the hospital.
Well, hospital's right there, I guess.
Tape that bitch up a little bit and get back in the game. I don't know.
I don't know what to tell you. It was dramatic, but it worked for him.
I guess they're overly cautious these days. So it was nothing. He gets back in the game. What is going on with that? All right. That's what's next.
All right, let's keep it in college football. And you last week caught a lot of heat for your take on walk-on kickers and nailing the game winner. Arizona State would love to have your problem. Here's their head coach sounding off on their kicking problems.
So you would hope that you can make, a kick, one of those, but our kicking game's atrocious. So if you can kick and you're at Arizona State, email me, right? We're going to have kicking tryouts on Monday. So bring it on, kicking tryouts Monday, let's go. Yeah, I'm dead serious. We're going to put it out on our social. We're going to have a kicking tryout on Monday. We got to find somebody who can make a field goal. It makes it even harder, late in games when it's clearly a kick scenario. That's when it gets really hard because you're it's clearly a kick. You definitely want to take points here. There's no doubt in your mind. And he hadn't had a kick this game. He was kicking good pregame, so I felt good about it. But, it is what it is. We got to do a better job getting him in the better mental state to kick. But at the same token, I got to do a job, and I got to get guys on the field that can perform in those situations as well.
Wait a minute. So you're going to get a kid off the streets going to perform in that situation? How realistic is that? Some kid's walking down, he's going to math class. I used to kick. I'm going to try it. You know how many people he's going to get and email him?
Oh, yeah.
What is he going to, seriously, you're going to have to go through, 100 kids?
Local fraternities are going to be showing out in bunches.
Ridiculous. Make your kicker that you recruited better.
Do you hear in there?
Maybe your Penn State guy, you should give him a little more credit now for the 36-yarder.
He says in there he has to get his kicker in a better mental state to make kicks.
Yeah.
So you would hope that you can make, a kick, one of those, but our kicking game's atrocious.
Yeah,
our kicking game's atrocious.
It's going to help the kid. Yeah, have more confidence. First of all, the Penn State kid made the team already. It's not like they put auditions out and he just showed up one day. He made the team as a walk-on. They have walk-ons that make the team. So he made the team already. He was their backup kicker already, which meant he was kicking every day.
Gotcha. So this is more, you're a student at the school. You just show up.
He was like a clerk at Arby's and just showed up. He made the team as a walk-on kicker. They just didn't have a scholarship for him.
Get one of the soccer players.
This was so bad, we got a tweet apology from the head coach afterwards.
Oh, really?
For the criticism received.
Yeah,
from this
see, coaches, they go off on a tangent there and they try to take the heat off themselves. And poor kicker. Listen, don't get me wrong. I think kickers should get blamed a lot. Little bastards, they get one job. They don't get hurt. They have to do weight training. They come in, they kick. They make the kick. All right. I don't have any sympathy for you. When you miss a kick, I'm not going to coddle you.
No, and look, the coach has to be better, especially when you're a college coach. But you know how frustrating that is? If your team has played well enough to win the game and the kicker whose only job is to make the field goal misses it.
That's why I don't have respect for him.
They lost by 10. He was 0 for 2.
Yeah, they're an ugly, necessary evil in football.
48 yards and 41 yards were the misses.
And they're all quaffs. You ever these kickers they throw out there, all handsome-looking kids. They get their hair perfect, right? These kickers, they have no idea what it's like to sweat. Oh, Mike, you don't understand. The pressure out, pressure your sister.
I feel like
pressure.
Mike.
Yeah, be a football player. Be a football player.
You got a lot of issues with kickers. I didn't know this. We got to scratch this a little bit more.
With kickers.
We got to get him going on this.
Football. People try to shove it down my throat that they're part of a team. You're not part of a team. They don't even stay with the team. If you look at kickers on a college campus or you look at pro, they're away from the team. They're not part of a team. They're just like necessary little mercenaries. That's all. That's why I don't like them.
Yeah, they don't practice the same way. They go on their own. Yeah.
I'd love to be a kicker. Kidding me?
You could do it, Ray. I believe you.
No, I couldn't. I know I can't.
All right.
If I could, I would be able to do it. All right, one more for you here.
Yeah.
Go to pro football. Stephon Diggs wants you to know, if he has a problem with you, do not expect him to be the bigger person.
I was walking to the locker room in the beginning of the game, and I heard somebody chirping, and I'm never the bigger person, so that's how I go by myself or with a minute, so I'm never the bigger person. I ain't let go.
So he got thrown out of the game? Did he get thrown out for doing what he did? Or no?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. This was pregame, right?
Yeah, it was him and Jair Alexander that got into it pregame.
I think they were just separated. Now, Trent Williams for the Niners got thrown out because he threw a punch, but Stephon Diggs in that game I don't think did anything but jaw.
Hey, I got no time for him. He's annoying.
I kind of admire the honesty.
Yeah, he's frustrated that he's no longer the star. And he got peddled. The team that gave him away. That's all that stuff.
Two teams gave him away.
Yeah, that's all that the reaction to him.
Right? Minnesota drafted Stephon Diggs, right? Yeah, he had that catch that sent them to the NFC Championship.
Minneapolis Miracle,
yep.
Minnesota.
Against the Eagles.
A big moment for them.
He's a fine product of the University of Maryland.
Nah, he doesn't compare to those Penn State guys, does he?
Not a little bit.
I just like him saying he's not the bigger person. Like, it's one thing to say the right thing after the game. He just said the honest thing on this one. I'm not the bigger person. I'm not going to let it go.
So now we like honesty, Ray. Sirianni jaws at the crowd.
So,
you know,
I don't have to deal with Diggs. I can find it funny. I can sit here and say, you know what? That entertains me.
Yeah, he bores me anymore.
Who's that, Stephon?
Yeah. Yeah, I had enough.
All right, well,
Buffalo.
I'll make sure to have him next week's News at Noon as well.
Yeah.
All right, that'll do it for the News at Noon. We got some Eagles text. Let's get one text, and we'll go to a break. I am astounded that – no, I am actually not. I can actually admire it now. I admire Eagle fans right now because they're not buying into the hype that everything is now wonderful. I love it. Bill, you came on today, and you were ready to just take the coach on one of those little chariot rides. You know,
little victory lap for Nick Sirianni.
Exactly, and it's not working out for you today, is it?
Well, fans are confused. I think
you're confused. They're not believing the hype yet, and that's a smart fan because they realize this is how honest Philly fans are. They realize that in 1 week I can't bury a coach and want to get rid of him, and then the next week laud the team for beating the Giants. That's what they go through. That's why they're smart. See, people can't figure out Philly fans how smart they are. They know the game, and they also know the circumstance, and they don't want to be hypocritical.
They don't, but that's why I was trying to tell fans last week that they were overreacting. There were things to be frustrated
they
about.
They weren't overreacting. A head coach acting like an idiot drawing with fans in the first row is not an overreaction.
No, I'll give you that. I will give you that.
Or to bring his kids. They're not overreacting.
No, but the negativity with a 3-2 football team I thought was over the top. And now they're 4-2, coming off of last year's collapse with a whole new coaching staff, new personnel.
Was it much negativity towards the team, or was it more negativity towards the leader of the team?
Can you really separate the two, though?
You can separate the two. You can. And we're separating it right now. Time for a break. Mike Missanelli Show continues.
Ricky Vitalico.
Way too many mistakes, and I'm talking about
Show. You know this band?
I don't know. What is it?
Let's make some noise. Come on.
That's right. That's what this band is.
I don't get it.
Play it again, Ray.
Let's make some noise. Come on.
Who's that?
That's Nick Foles, but what does that have to do with the band?
The band's called Foles.
Ah, good job, Ray.
There you go.
I mean, it's right in front of me. I can't really take a lot of credit there. It's a layup for me.
All right, let me just state this because I'm not stunned at the lack of reaction, but it does get my attention, and so I'm trying to process it. The Eagles had a really good win yesterday. It was a dominant win. Saquon Barkley was fantastic. The quarterback was really good. The defense was excellent. They had a really good game plan. I think the lack of analytical reaction today can be explained simply by Eagle fans don't want to have to like the head coach. They can't get across that bridge yet. Now, if they beat Cincinnati, I think we'll get more of a reaction. I think if people would laud the Eagles' performance today, fans, they would also have to then include
the head coach,
acceptance, and maybe even admiration for the head football coach. That's my theory, and I'm sticking with it.
What is it? Well, I mean, I know what it is. It's the way he's acted and the way last season ended. But, I mean, you can't deny the record, Mike. I mean, the fact that this guy is 38-19 as a head coach is pretty impressive.
I hate when you do that.
How do you deny that?
I really do. After what you witnessed, that collapse last year, you can't trumpet those numbers. You can't do it. You can't. And the behavior that happened this year that turned people off. You can't overcome that by telling me numbers on what his record is. Can't do it, Bill. I know you want to do it.
So we're talking.
You can't
hold on.
do it.
But that collapse was 7 games. Okay.
Yeah.
That accounts for about 12% of Nick Sirianni's head coaching career here in Philadelphia. So we're going to eliminate the other 88%, the Super Bowl appearance.
These people here are dummies.
So much good.
They're not dummies to fall for something like that. What they are a reaction.
Wait, something like what?
They're reactive people who go, oh my God, they collapsed. That team, they were like headed to a number 1 seed and they collapsed. The coach couldn't do anything about it. And then he panicked and changed the defensive coordinator. That's what they look at. They're not going to look. Oh, but yeah, but look at his overall record. Come on, Bill.
Yeah, you're saying they're not going to react to something like that. Something like that being wins.
Bill, they're not going to react to wins when they bore witness to a collapse that was historic collapse.
So this is where you and I disagree because I told you before.
What are you talking about? How could you disagree with that? They can't ignore a historic collapse.
That collapse last season had a lot to do with how bad the defensive personnel was. It would not have mattered who the head coach was.
Looking at that. They're looking at, oh, my God, look at this guy. He's got his thumbs up his keister, and they're losing games. They're collapsed. They were 10-1. That's what they're looking at. They're not going to process, but look at his overall record. It was wonderful.
Okay. So now we're going to bring this full circle then. So if Nick Sirianni was responsible for the 1-6 collapse, why? Why was he responsible for it?
Bill, you can't.
I know. I want an answer to it.
I don't have a specific answer. All I know is that when you're the CEO of a failing company, you get the blame. And you get it.
Okay.
And especially in sports, you get it. Look at Rob Thompson's record. He gets hammered by his fan base when they lose.
Spot on. He should be blamed for the 1-6 finish. But if you're going to blame the coach for the 1-6 finish, then you also have to give him the credit for all of the success that the team has had under him. Do you not? If we're going to blame him for the collapse last season, then how come he doesn't get credit for everything else?
That he has lined up more things to dislike him by the fan base, not by me or you or Ray, by the fan base. There are things that have lined up that make this fan base go, I don't really like the guy. So when they beat the Giants, I'm not going to go crazy like Bill, making him a Jesus walking through Port Richmond carrying a cross. I can't do it.
The fact that you, fans, anyone, cannot sit here and be objective. And again, I'm being facetious about the over-the-top praise.
What I'm saying is they can't get to that side of the bridge yet. I'm just saying, and you can't expect them to get to that side of the bridge because they beat the Giants.
I'm not saying you need to become a fan of this guy, but to sit here today, after the week that this team and their head coach just had with all of the negative publicity surrounding this team, and for them to respond with an absolute dominant performance, to not give the coach any credit is ridiculous.
Listen, you might be right. I am just telling you what the fans are thinking, and I've been doing this for a really long time. There's a lack of genuine reaction today to the Eagles with a great win. And I go, okay, why would that be? Because now I've learned through 2.5 hours through the show that they just can't do that because that would be giving the head coach too much credit, and they're not ready to do that. If they beat Cincinnati, then they beat in the next game, and they beat Dallas, whatever, then maybe people are ready. They can't get across the bridge yet. This is what I'm saying to you. You're rebelling against that. You're saying, I can't believe they can't get to the bridge. I'm telling you, I can understand 100% why they can't get there. You're saying I can't. That's what you're saying.
I think that fans, I understand the point of why they can't get there and what you're saying, but they should. They should get there because this is a 4-2 football team right now.
That they should. If they're not ready, you can't. Bill Colarulo can't sit here and tell them what they should be doing. They genuinely react to what they feel.
So let me ask you this: when the offense has not performed as well as fans have wanted, the narrative is Sirianni's got his hand in the offense. Now, the offense puts on a dominant rushing performance, and it's Sirianni stayed out of the way.
They don't like him. What are you not understanding?
Because it's over the top.
No, it's not. They don't like him. There are many reasons for them not to like him. Now, can they like him later? Sure they can.
You think the players like him?
Can he win them? Oh, here we go.
Do you think the players like him?
Yeah, I am totally convinced that they went through a hoop of fire all week for him. They just couldn't stand the fact that their head coach, grown men who get paid, they're gonna go home at night and they're gonna worry about Nick Sirianni. This is where you lose me with this.
Football is a different sport, man.
Come on, man.
Football players, if you don't respect your head coach, you are not going to come out and perform.
You're speaking from a Gettysburg Division III college thing. That's what you're speaking of.
Even if this team,
pro ball.
If this team felt about Nick Sirianni the way a majority of fans feel about Sirianni, they would have not dominated the Giants 28-3 yesterday. They wouldn't have. This team responded to their head coach and the adversity that the head coach and the team battled this week.
If you say so. All right, let's go to the text board. What do you got? Give me a text.
All right, Ralph Q, first-time texter. I'm happy for the win, but our offense is predictable and non-entertaining like other teams' offenses. I watched the KC and Niners game, and the offenses are more exciting to watch.
Who's more exciting to watch?
KC and the 49ers.
That their offenses are more exciting to watch than the Eagles' offense?
That is the text I just read to you.
Did they watch the game on Sunday afternoon?
To that guy, they might be. The fact of the matter is the Eagles running the football the way they did. That's not exciting football. They just did it really well.
Oh, I love it, man.
Oh, I do too. But you don't have to be exciting. You have to be efficient.
Well, let me say this.
You have to do what works. And yesterday, that worked.
Well, let me say this to the texter who doesn't think they have an exciting offense. Coming into the game yesterday, the Philadelphia Eagles led the NFL in 40-plus yard plays with 7. Do you know how many they had against the Giants? 3. Saquon had 2 40-plus yard runs. A.J. Brown's touchdown was a 40-plus yard touchdown catch. They now have 10 40-plus yard plays this season.
You see what that was, right? That was a side door compliment for the head coach.
Well, don't worry. The text board has lit up with discussion over Sirianni and Bill.
That was a side door compliment. They didn't supposed to play. That must mean that the head coach. All right. Mike Missanelli show continues. Day after the Eagles game. Listen, I know that the reaction is usually fervent when they lose. But yesterday was a really good game where they kind of stopped. Well, they didn't really stop bleeding, but they showed that they could be a good team. They dominated that team yesterday. Now, you can say what you want about the Giants. The Eagles had all the answers after the first quarter. They started off slow, but people are waiting, and I get it. I've been in this town for a long time. I get what they're thinking. They're not going to overreact. And coming off a week where they excoriated the head football coach of this team, they are certainly not going to now be hypocritical and say everything is good and now I like my coach and I like my team. That's just the way it rolls here in Philadelphia. And that's the reality of it. Now, so let's go to the text board because Bill and I got into a little row in our last segment about this particular thing. What are they saying on the text board right now, right?
All right, so we got a texter that's just been firing away here today. Multiple texts. The most recent one, so we're supposed to give credit for self-inflicted wounds. Nick Sirianni is still a clown, even with a win over the Giants.
See, they just don't like him.
Yep.
Now, when you don't like somebody, you can always get the people back. And the way you get the people back is you go on a roll and you become one of the best teams in the league. And so they still have that opportunity to do that.
Now,
what else do we have?
The first text from this person today, all the way back at 10 o'clock. What does it mean this team played for their head coach? What did they do different? Did they play with the new ball? The coach brought them? Did they play with the coach's kids because he brought them onto the field? No. The professional football players, and they had a game scheduled at Sunday at 1 o'clock. They went out and played and beat one of the worst teams in the league. So there you have it. The Giants might have a decent defense, but they're definitely bottom third of the league.
Here's the way it rolls. Like, it's a game plan. Like, here was, you hear what the offensive lineman said. They just couldn't wait to play that way, right? They get off the ball. They want to plow somebody, right? And the defensive guys really realize they had a route to the quarterback. Now, when they're doing that, when they're running, when they're blocking for Saquon, they seal off that left edge and he goes 55 yards. Do you think that they were sealing that off because of admiration for their head coach? I got to do this for Nick. I got to blast that guy. I got to kick him out. Are they doing that?
No, let's look at it the other way then. Let's have this alternate universe where we came into work today and the Eagles lost yesterday to the New York Giants. What would the narrative been? Really, what would the narrative been? If the Eagles lost yesterday.
Oh, the head coach would have gotten buried.
The head coach would have been killed.
Yeah,
and
of course.
We would have all been talking about what a distraction it was this week, what happened, and he had a terrible game plan, and Nick Sirianni was involved too much in the offense this week. But instead, this team comes out, and yeah, the Giants aren't a great team. We learned that yesterday, but they dominated them in all facets of the game. So if we were going to bury the head coach if they lost, then I do feel that he should get some of the credit for them dominating.
But you're missing the obvious. And the obvious is that right now they don't really like him that much. And so they're not going to give him credit. They're not ready to give him credit. They may be down the road, but I have learned today that they are not ready to give the head coach credit, and therefore they are holding back their admiration for that win yesterday because that would be against the grain of what they have been feeling just a couple of days before.
And, Bill, you also said something right there. We learned that yesterday about the Giants not being a good football team. I don't think the fan base feels like we learned yesterday the Giants were a bad football team. I think a lot of people went into this weekend with the Giants are a bad football team. My team should beat up on the Giants. Okay, my team beat up on the Giants. Job well done. Let's wrap it up. Get focused for Cincinnati next week.
We had Jordan Renan on the show on Thursday, who covers the Giants for ESPN, and his exact words were, this is not the same Giants team of old. You're not going to come in here and just, I forget the exact words he used.
And I got you.
But you're not going to dominate them. They're not going to just roll over. Well, that's exactly what happened.
But if I'm Ben in Bucks County and I hear that, like, hey, guy covers the Giants for ESPN. He sees them close. He sees the good in them. I don't think they're that good. Daniel Jones, their quarterback. What am I supposed to expect? Daniel Jones is going to do something to my team?
Listen, I thought they were going to be better. And I have no problem saying the Eagles just dominated their ass. And they did it for a number of reasons. The running back was amazing. The quarterback was efficient. He made a tremendous 4th and 3 throw, which contributed to that win. They got sacks. They got to the quarterback. The offensive line kept the Giants at bay after some early. Well, you add all these things up: Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell. I have no problem giving the head coach a little bit of credit. But I am telling you that the fan base is not ready to do that. That's the only thing I'm saying here.
And it's expected. I didn't expect the fan base to be.
I think you did. That's why you're so shocked today. You expected the fan base to go all Bill on Sirianni.
I did not expect the fan base to do that.
Yes, you did.
I am calling out the hypocrisy of the Philadelphia Eagles fan base as it pertains to the head coach. Because when this team loses or doesn't perform as well as you want them to perform, it's all Nick Sirianni's fault. Everything is his fault.
How do you not understand what they're going through, the fan base?
It's hypocritical, man.
It's not hypocritical. It's being a Philly fan. This guy got on their bad side. So now, okay, I'm sitting back here. Now you got to win me back, and you're probably not going to be able to do that after we beat the Giants. But hey, check in with me a couple weeks down the road, and we'll see how I feel. That's what they do.
I think right now, it's actually the opposite. Bill didn't expect today for the praise to be there. He was thinking that there'd still be leftover criticism. I think Bill came in excited today to have some more fuel to the Sirianni fire. He was ready to defend him no matter what.
Yeah, but they can't do that either. See, the fan base is smart enough to know they can't criticize him either.
Yeah, but Bill likes to defend him.
Yeah, well, they're stuck in a limbo right now over Nick Sirianni.
I did not like what Sirianni did last week. I said it. I've been critical of his. I didn't like his decisions in the New Orleans Saints game. I will be critical of the head coach when it's time to be critical. I will be critical of this team when it's time to be critical. But what I have been saying is the over-the-top reactions to this team when they were 3-2 and this head coach was exactly that. It was over-the-top criticism, and it continues. It continues. We're sitting here today.
Not continuing. We're not hearing any criticism of them. They're just kind of in a holding pattern. That's what they're in, a holding pattern. Now let's cut to the chase here. You happen to be a fan of Nick Sirianni. You like him.
Well, what I like of
hell yeah.
Just play along with me here.
Well, I'm a fan of winning.
Okay.
And so Sirianni has won almost 70% of the time he's been the head coach.
Okay, and so not even when they went through that rut last year did you say that didn't disturb your like of Nick Sirianni. You thought he should have come back. He should deserve another chance. You like him. Well, but I will say any other reaction to him, which is what we're experiencing now, even after a win, you blanch at.
When they lost the game against the Bucs, and you and I were doing the post-game show together then, my immediate reaction was, Sirianni's got to go. In the moment, when I saw how lifeless they looked, I said, Sirianni's got to go. And then when I took a step back and I really looked at it objectively, I said, you know what? There's been so much good.
So much good.
I'm waiting for Ray.
Yeah, so much good.
So much good.
Yeah.
I thought he deserved to come back. And here I go again getting choked up, but it's not about the head coach. I got a tickle in my throat.
No, you're emotional today. This was a big win for him.
He is emotional.
You feel like the tide's turned.
All right, let's make him feel good because we have some texts that agree with Bill.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Mike and Charles, I'm with Bill. I'm willing to give a little more grace than Mike. While he is not a new head coach, he is still learning how to navigate through new situations. Whatever he did or didn't do last year, it didn't work. Let's see if he learns from that. And it really doesn't matter if we don't like him. It only matters if the players are still bought in. ... Seems like they are.
Exactly. Man, I can't believe this is my
You
turn.
are so broken up today.
Poor Nick. Now, I don't know what
Did he send you the message he had for the team afterwards? Is that what it is? Have you been rewatching that?
That was a good post game. That's a good post game.
You know what my takeaway was? Fox, when they do like the end of the day, the post game after that last show, and they show all the sounds in the locker room. Each locker room post game, head coach, your guy Dan Campbell. When they cut to the Eagles, Saquon.
Wow. That probably was a better story.
Well, yeah, that was a big story.
It's a better story, but in my head, I took that as like,
Speaking of Fox, I tweeted this out yesterday because I think I'm being fairly fair and objective about this. And what I tweeted out, I tweeted, what on earth could Fox possibly see in Mark Sanchez as an analyst? And I think, listen, I'm not just picking on Mark Sanchez because he's a butt fumbable joke. I listen to and I go, what on earth do they see that he is a good analyst? Maybe it's me. I'm looking at it and I'm going, first of all, his cadence is bad. He has the same tone on everything he says, which is annoying because you're supposed to be able to go up and down. But he also had the wrong names. He said something like, why don't they push on 4th and 3? He's not good. And that's Team Z that they rolled out yesterday with Chris Myers and Mark Sanchez. But I'm thinking, okay, an analyst has to impress them somewhere with his work. What is impressive about Mark? I'm not just trying to cause controversy here. What is impressive about Mark Sanchez as an analyst?
No, he wasn't good. He wasn't good. And I saw your tweet, and then I started to really listen to him. And you're right. He made a lot of mistakes, wrong names.
He's not pleasant to listen to at any level.
No.
And
Maybe they're desperate.
I know people are going, well, it's the man bun. I mean, whatever. You wear a man bun, that's fine. I'll still listen to you. But it's like I'm going, what? Like, what do they see? The people that are making these judgments. Like, well, we got to have Sanchez on the team. Oh, why? Why? What does he bring?
The man bun, maybe? Did you see the man bun?
Did I just talk about the man bun? What is wrong with you?
I'm sorry. I'm reading the YouTube chat.
Oh, my.
That
was egregious.
What is wrong with you?
That was another one of those. I've told you, it's so hard.
I just talked about the man bun 10 seconds ago.
It's so hard for me to read the YouTube chat.
Stop reading the YouTube chat when I'm talking.
People are going
like
after him. People are going after them.
Get off your phone.
What is
going on? I got to close the YouTube. I can't do both. You know how hard it is to read and listen?
Both? Listen to the show and glance at the YouTube chat.
I can't do both. When I'm reading a detailed YouTube chat
about, can you at least know what was distracting you?
All right, I was trying to figure out what this guy meant. I'm sorry, Mike. I was trying to read this. It says, this is from Matthew, crying over a coach getting love from the city instead of being happy the guys played together as a team. Nick loves the praise, can't stand having fingers pointed at him. And I was trying to figure out what he meant, and that's why I zoned out for a second.
I'm be honest with you, Bill. Doesn't seem like he's on your side of the aisle in this discussion. Doesn't seem like Matt's a big fan of Sirianni. That's what I took away from that little synopsis.
All right, the YouTube chat's got my back here. They're telling me that they love me and they understand that they rapid fire and it's hard to keep up. That's why, and I apologize, Mike, but the man bun was embarrassing.
Right. It was just like it was literally you asked about the man bun, but when I finished the sentence,
it was good. It was really well timed.
I can't do both, man.
You could have played it off as a bit. That's how well timed it was. You could have played off. Seeing your eyes and seeing the fear in them when you realized what you had done.
Yeah, the moment I said it, and the Mike's like, I just said, I'm like, oh man, I did it again.
I did it again. I literally had just finished the sentence about the man bun.
That's why it was a great time bit if it was intentional. Unfortunately, the intention was not there.
I can't do it. Ray, you should monitor the YouTube chat.
My point on Mark Sanchez was he wasn't good, and I don't understand. Even if it's Team Z, I don't understand what they see in him. I really don't.
Well, he's a former professional quarterback. I guess that's it.
Yeah, well, quarterback will retire soon and then take his job, I guess.
Yeah, okay, well, as a former quarterback, I would expect more insight. That if he gave me some insight, if he said, well, I think they ought to do this here, or here's what they do. I didn't hear any of that from him. All right, let's go to Kevin in Philly. Kevin, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Kevin.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
What's going on, Kevin? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Before I make my comment about the Eagles, I just want to let you know I'm listening to your podcast. I like it a lot, man.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you brought that up. I'll have an update on that in a second.
Yeah, fascinating story and fascinating and tragic story, I should say.
Yeah, it is. He's talking about my true crime podcast, was called The Coldest Murder, and I have some updates on that.
Yeah, really good. So I talk about Nick Sirianni. I just don't think he's a good coach. And I was thinking about, like, the other coaches in the NFL. Like, how many coaches would I take ahead of Sirianni? Pretty much all of them. I mean, there's a few that, that I wouldn't want. However, he's kind of low on the list for me. We're just going to see what you guys think. I just think he's not a good X and O guy. Horrible at press conferences. I don't see him as a quality leader of this squad. I think our talent is allowing us to win a lot of these games, but not necessarily his leadership.
Well, I mean, I kind of agree with you. Like, he hasn't convinced me right now that he could be the CEO, that the orchestrator of an entire program. But again, I don't know. This is a very fluid situation. It goes from week to week when I see how they play. I don't buy into the premise that NFL players, as a norm, play for their head coach. And I think that they think that these guys have his back, to me, is going a little too far. I don't believe they go that.
But look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're they got a little bit of a quarterback, roller coaster. Not roller coaster, but they changed their quarterback, but they didn't miss the beat. It was
he came through for him yesterday. Russ did.
Yeah, he did.
He made him look good.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching a little bit of that stuff, but that's the head coach. That's that leadership that I would love to see here. Cause we have the talent, I think, but I'm not convinced about Sirianni. Hopefully, I'm wrong. I want the Birds to keep winning.
Yeah. No, I got you. And like I say, he came off poorly to me with all that nonsense last week, and but that doesn't mean that he can't re-rally this team and get to a point where people actually like him and appreciate him as a head coach. I don't think that's right now. I'm getting the fan base is not ready just because they beat the Giants to say, you know what, I really misjudged this guy. He's actually a good CEO. I don't know. That's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen after one game. But Kevin's point, and I've heard this from a lot of fans, is just that, well, the team wins as much as they do because of the talent. And I think that is ignoring what a head coach does for a football team.
That's fair. All right, by the way, the update on my True Crime podcast. First of all, my last interview, I did it on Friday. It will be released this week. I was finally able to reach, we're talking about the murder of a 9-year-old girl named Carol Ann Doherty. I was finally able to reach her sister.
Oh, you did that on Friday night?
I did that Friday after the show and did the podcast with her. Her name is Kay Doherty, Talanka, and I was able to reach her and have a conversation with her, and we recorded a podcast. It was the most emotional podcast, emotional interview, one of the most, if not the most, emotional that I've ever done.
Oh, I can only imagine. When you're releasing it?
What the effect of the murder had. She was only 2 years old, but she recollected a lot of things about the day when the murder was discovered, and she really described almost for an hour how it affected their family for their entire lives. Jeez. So that will be released this week. I welled up in interviewing her because she welled up. So I think it'll really. The one thing about this podcast is that we've spent a lot of time on the suspects who did it, whatever, and I wanted to explore more of the human side because this is a human story that affected not only the people that lived in that town at the time, where I witnessed as a 7-year-old kid, the town draped in sadness, but what they had to go through for their entire lives because of this.
It's terrible.
And also, the update is that the CBS Saturday morning show, which the anchor is Dana Jacobson, who's former ESPN, the story they're doing on this podcast is will be aired this Saturday.
Do you know what time?
I don't know the time of the segment, but the CBS Saturday morning show is on from 7 to 9 on Saturday mornings. So this will be featured. I'm flattered that they actually wanted to do something on this. They caught wind of it, and so they came in, they filmed me in my hometown and walking around and the whole bit. So that I hopefully the piece comes out doing justice to the podcast, which is all about. It's not about me. It's about this circumstance that really had an effect on people. So that's happening Saturday.
Is this going to be the last episode until the DNA results come back?
No, we're doing. I have 2 more episodes planned after this one. This one, the one I did with Kay Doherty. Is number 10, and then there'll be 2 more, and then we just wait. And if the crime is solved by the sophisticated DNA test, we'll do an epilogue podcast.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man.
Thanks, everybody who's been listening to it, by the way. 610-632-0975 is how you get in. We're back after this.
Been holding court.
Is it a game that now brings the fan base back to the feely goods? That this team is actually okay. Listen, they beat a team that a lot of people thought was going to give them trouble. I thought it would be a close game. They dominated the game. And this is where Bill Colarulo comes in, the head coach, springing back after a week of turmoil, saying, I'm a great coach. And Bill, I don't know if anybody followed his Twitter yesterday, but Bill was moist. He was absolutely moist over Nick Sirianni. So, Bill, you have the floor.
Mike and Bill have been pleading their cases.
You can't deny that the week that this head coach went through could have gone a completely other direction. But you can't deny that this team played for their head coach. And you can't deny the fact that Nick Sirianni, now 38-19, with a .667 winning percentage, 14th highest in NFL history.
God, I can't.
You can't deny it, Mike.
This is going to go on. Make it stop, Ray. Please make it stop. This is going to go on, and I have nothing to say. I can't refute it. I will say this though: it was pretty brilliant of Nick Sirianni to uncover an unknown gem like Saquon Barkley. I mean, don't you think that was brilliant, right?
The Mike Missanelli Show Holding Court is brought to you by Grunko Law, your law firm when you need help because of an injury. We treat every case like it's Dallas Week. Pray for peace, prepare for trial. Now back to Mike Missanelli on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It was a stroke of genius that this head coach figured out that Saquon Barkley is a pretty good player. I think we ought to use him. Now, I don't think many other coaches would have that kind of insight, but the head coach did yesterday as the Eagles pounded the Giants. And the question is, are you back on board? Can you see now in front of you, the road in front, that is it is painted with beautiful mountains and trees as the Eagles go forward with this season, where they actually compile a really good record and head towards a division title and a seed and all that kind of stuff. Possible they beat Cincinnati next week. Maybe you're getting that way, but right now, my sense is that the fan base is not ready to anoint the head coach as a guy that really the team plays hard for and is going to achieve for. So we shall see.
But they are 4-2. They've had 4 games away from the link. And they have a few winnable games still coming up. The season, everything's still in front of this team. Everything is still in front of them. And I think that they've shown, especially on the defensive side of the football, because we all knew there was talent on offense. I was concerned about what this defense was going to look like. And now that you got guys like Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, 2 rookies who look like they belong.
Chocolate vanilla.
And then you've added in Nolan Smith looking like maybe this guy can play. We'll see.
Game yesterday, Nolan Smith. Huff was active.
Huff got a sack again.
Jalen Carter was good. Listen, the linebacker had an obvious miss early in that game. But Fangio looks at this guy and goes, how can I best use him? Well, I can blitz him a little bit. I can blitz him in this position. And he got to the quarterback a couple times.
2 sacks yesterday. Now, here's what's interesting. Because I thought that they were bringing some blitzes with Nakobe Dean. But according to Next Gen Stats, all 8 sacks that the Eagles had against the Giants came on a 4-man rush. So that's not defined as a blitz. We only bring 4.
Yeah.
Those 8 sacks with a 4-man rush, according to Next Gen, are the most sacks by an NFL team all season when only bringing 4. That's pretty impressive. I mean, I know it's the Giants.
Very impressive.
But that is impressive.
Very, very impressive. So the 1 o'clock hour, first of all, is brought to us by Ferguson HVAC Line Conklin. Attention HVAC contractors. For equipment, parts, and supplies for every heating and cooling job, visit one of Ferguson's counter locations in Bensalem, King of Prussia, Pennsauken, or Westchester. And, of course, this is Football Monday. You wouldn't know it by the lack of reaction by the fan base, but Football Monday is brought to you by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning. Visit nopraybryant.com. All right, Ray, I want to get to a lot of Sirianni this hour because I'm going to try my best to let him connect with this fan base and explain his bond with his players. So there was a question on how he does connect with the guys, and it's Nick Sirianni 10. Here was his answer.
It sounds like the guys rallied around you. As a coach, how does that make you feel? How do you react to that?
You just judge the relationships that you have with the guys, and that's why you're always constantly working to connect, because anyone can connect in the good times. You work to connect, so you get together closer as a team in bad times.
Okay. It sounds like you guys connect. I don't know. What does it sound? What do you mean? It sounds like they did. I have no idea what that means. But let's this premise that they had his back goes on, and he was asked further on that. So let's go with Nick Sirianni 14.
In what ways could you feel the players getting your back this week?
Shoot, just going to work and going again and getting up and going again and going again. And I love these guys. I love this team. You go through things, and we've been through a lot of ups. We've been through a lot of downs, and it's controlling what you can control and ripping to the next one.
Oh, let's see. He's being very humble and subdued. So let's just close it out with Nick Sirianni 3 telling the team that this is how he's now going to operate.
The thing that I learned this week, and I just told the team that it happened a bunch of different ways. There was a bunch of different ways that I learned this week. It wasn't just through the situation that I was in. It was through, I'm not even going to go into all that, but it's like you can be angry, but all anger does is cloud your ability to get better, right, and control the things that you need to control. So what I said to the team is like, I put my head down. When you have criticism, when you have those different things, you put your head down and you work even harder. And the thing about that is, the hard work that the team had and that we had throughout the week helped put us in position to be successful today. And the other thing it does, to be quite honest with you, is it unites. And so you can look at it as a positive if you allow yourself to do that. And so I think that this game is constantly teaching us things, and that's what it taught me this week.
Oh my God. Play the first part of that again, because this is Aristotle, Plato-esque.
The thing that I learned this week, and I just told the team that it happened a bunch of different ways. There was a bunch of different ways that I learned this week. It wasn't just through the situation that I was in. It was through, I'm not even going to go into all that, but it's like you can be angry, but all anger does is cloud your ability to get better, right?
All right, you can stop it right there. All anger does is cloud your ability to get better. That's like Greek philosophy.
Why can't you just give this guy the credit? Why can't you give him some credit this week?
I just love tweaking you.
I mean, just think about it. I didn't like what he did.
On a bumper sticker, burn it in wood, and put it on your wall. As some.
Look, I didn't like what he did either after the Browns game. But this had to be a tough week, Mike. It had to be a tough week for anyone who would be going through something like that, where you're being called a clown and then being accused as a father of using your kids as a human shield.
Which you did, by the way.
When did I use my kids?
You accused them of using them as the kids as a shield.
No, I didn't.
Now you're taking it back?
No, I said I didn't think he was smart enough to do that. What I thought was
too big of an idiot is what he was going.
What I said was he misread the moment. He thought that it was going to be a celebratory post-game press conference because they won, and I didn't like the fact that he didn't have the self-awareness to know that wasn't that big of a win, and this city wasn't happy that you should do that. I don't think he did it intentionally to use them as a human shield, and I didn't like his behavior. But the team reacted. The team responded.
Last week I got Chinese food, and I cracked open a fortune cookie. And it said, all anger does is cloud your ability to grow. And it said, Nick Sirianni.
All anger does is cloud your ability to get better.
There you go.
Is this going to be a drop
Fortune cookie.
Is this going to be a drop?
That's
be a drop.
Fortune cookie wisdom.
Be a T-shirt.
Then why don't you play, Ray? Why don't you play? I don't know if you need to do it now or after.
Phil gets so
but
like that.
Jalen Hurts 8, because we always keep saying Jalen Hurts never has anything positive to say about Sirianni. Well, he was asked about Sirianni, and he talked about it. Do you have Hurts 8 available?
I continue to carry myself in the same way that I have. Obviously, he knows that I'm behind him, and he knows that communication is important amongst his team sport, and he's been doing a really good job of doing that. we talk about everybody dominating their box and trying to check off their box, given the roles that you have. And I feel like he's really come in with really good intentionality, and trying to deliver good messages for us to be focused and be on the same page. And he's also apologetic when he needs to be. I'm excited about the direction we're going in. I'm excited about the direction Coach is going in with everything, too.
Not so sure he obviously knew you were behind him, Jalen, but that was probably the biggest testimony he has ever given for him.
So, things are headed in the right direction, Michael. Even Jalen Hurts supporting Nick Sirianni.
I'm agreeing with you.
Apologizes when he needs to.
I'm agreeing with you. I got him in a fortune cookie. What more you want me to do? 610-632-0975. We're back after this. Joe 97.5 The Fanatic 612-632-0975. I asked at the start of the show, does this game bring back Eagle fans? Holding pattern. They're in a holding pattern. They're circling.
Yeah, I don't know if we've had any.
Like a plane, it doesn't want to land.
I don't think we've had anybody call in and say, yes, I'm back.
Not one. Not one. And there's a reason for that. They don't want to give the head coach credit right now.
Is that the only reason fans would be hesitant to get back in?
It's one of the main reasons. Listen, we have this natural instinct of not committing because we don't want to get egg in the face a little later. So they need a little more time. But you can't come off of a week where you're really blasting the head coach. You don't like the head coach. You've made it known. And then kind of relishing in the fact that they beat the Giants because that, in essence, would be giving the head coach credit.
Yeah, I can understand that. I understand it. I just felt that we were waiting. Fans were just waiting for the stumble to then say, see, we should have fired him.
I think they were waiting for the stumble, which threw people off guard here because if this was a close game that they needed a field goal to win it late, which I thought they were going to need, maybe people would have gone down that direction. Since they buried them, it's like, I was programmed to say this, but now I can't. So let's go to the text board and see what they're saying, Ray.
Zach from Florida, my feelings 100% line up with what Ray said. Regardless of what any Giant media or national media said, I never saw the Giants as a good football team. Also, I think it's funny that when Hurts let that 4th and 3 pass fly, he was screaming, "This one's for Nick."
I think the same thing. All right, we're going to seal off the edge here because Saquon's going to go for 55 yards. And we're doing that for Nick.
Whoa, both of you. Who makes the decision to go for it on 4th and 3?
Nick.
Nick Sirianni.
Yes.
And if the play didn't work, who would have been blamed?
Nick.
Nick Sirianni would.
Yes.
So you better give the man credit when he makes the right decisions.
Absolutely right.
And they were 3 for 3 on 4th down.
I can't argue. God, what else we have?
John from Downingtown. I'm more in the camp of the players playing harder for their fellow teammate and Saquon returning to his former team for the first time.
Man, the hate for Nick is a real thing, though. No one will give this guy any credit. It's crazy to me.
Not yet. Hey, give me one more, Ray.
Are you kidding me? The guy is still a joke. Lost the locker room. Beat a team that will win 5 games this year. We'll end up 500. He has to go. Tim from Danville.
The hate is real.
Bill is thinking that he's a guy who has dominated the fight. He's landed all these power punches and jabs, and yet the decision's going against him.
The hate. But think about this.
It's amusing to me because I put this in total perspective. I know exactly where this fan base is right now. All right, let's go back to the phones. Laura in Rockledge. Laura, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Laura.
Gentlemen and Bill.
Hello, Laura.
I will get to Bill's delusion in a second. But, Michael, I want to tell you that I have listened to a podcast for the very first time ever in my life at 53 years of age, and it is yours, and I am intrigued beyond intrigued. And I have some theories of my own. I definitely think that poor little girl walked into something she shouldn't have, because there's no way, this was premeditated. And also, I feel like there's still something weird with that Wayne kid. Did we ever find out why he had her name written down in his journal?
No. But
why, if he's living in Pennsylvania, is he taking a driver's test in Virginia? That makes no sense.
No, he relocated down that way. So, listen, whether he had the girl's name in his notebook or not, he wasn't there. The timestamp proved where he was at the time, so he couldn't have committed the murder.
Maybe he knew something. Anyway, but I am.
I appreciate you listening to it. I think you'll get a little more intrigued as you go on because it's got many legs to it. And I've just been told by the producer from CBS Morning, he's been fantastic. By the way, his name is Tony DelPolvere. He was grew up in Princeton. He was a listener to my show, and this is how he first got wind of this podcast and decided to do it. He's telling me that this piece will be on the Saturday morning show, CBS Saturday morning at 8:00.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I heard you.
Saturday.
And I will be getting up extra early on Saturday to watch it, believe you me. So, all right, now back to Bill's delusion, right? Okay, so here's the thing. First of all, Bill, you're wrong about Nick getting all the blame because we definitely spoke about AJ dropping the pass. We definitely have spoken about Jalen sucking. We definitely have spoken about Howie just existing. And so that's not 100% accurate that Nick gets all the blame. Now, also, it is fair to say that we got a lot of our weapons back, okay, which we did not have. Now, what I will say is you're expecting some, I don't know what you're expecting about what attention Nick Sirianni should get about, winning against the Giants, whoop-de-doo-dah day. But if at any time ever in life it was appropriate for a participation trophy, that you can give him at best because you're expecting us to give him, the NFL Head Coach of the Year award for yesterday, which is completely ridiculous.
See, this is what the perception of people are getting from you, and I know it's really not. You don't want to be Coach of the Year, and here's the way I look at it. It's like when you dominate a team like the Eagles beat the Giants yesterday. I can't hold back. I can't be on the side of but he still stinks as a coach. I can't do that, and that's what the fair part of that whole thing. I think to judge him fairly, we would be silly to say he still stinks.
What is the number one stat that a head coach in the NFL should be judged by? The number one stat. It's their win-loss record. That is the most important thing to a head coach. Because we debate sometimes, is win-loss a quarterback stat? Some people don't like to use it because the quarterback's not on the field with the defense. There's no denying when you look at a head coach, it's a win-loss record. And you can't deny, whether you like Sirianni or not, that they win a hell of a lot more than they lose. 4 years now, this guy's got close to a 700 winning percentage. Playoffs every season. Super Bowl 2 years ago. So you may not like the man, and I understand it. I didn't like his behavior last week. But this team seems to like him. They win more than they lose. That's what you want in a head coach. That's what you want.
All right, let's go back to the text board. Ray, what are they saying about Sirianni?
All right, we got Andrew and Satterton checking in. The Philly media has a direct influence on the fans' perception of Nick Sirianni. They continue to criticize him without giving him the praise he deserves when they win. The fan base will continue to have a negative outlook on him. His sideline antics, unfortunately, overshadow his good qualities. Just win the games that you're supposed to win, and in time, he'll regain favor. He can't throw the ball for Jalen on a wide-open Devontae Smith 3rd and 3 or a wide-open Saquon in the corner of the end zone. Jalen has played well, but missing easy plays like those will compound and inevitably put more pressure on Sirianni. It's not always fair. It's just the reality of this fan base. Reed went through it with McNabb to just win games.
All right, that's a pretty fair text.
Yeah, and we didn't spend a lot of time, and maybe tomorrow we will spend a lot of time on the quarterback because he did it. You look at his final numbers, all right, only threw the ball 14 times, had a great quarterback rating, made some big throws. But
two really clutch throws.
But he did miss some open receivers, too.
He did, and he didn't see the field a lot early. And again, that the fact that they can't score a point in the first quarter and don't look good at all is also a reflection on the head coach. All right, we're coming down the home stretch. 610-632-0975. Mike Missanelli Show continues. It's going to be a great series. I mean, listen. I think we could be man enough to admit, or people enough to admit, that the Phillies weren't nearly as good as the Dodgers or Yankees. When you watch both those teams rake.
Yeah, that would have been a tough series against the Dodgers. Even if they would have squeaked by the Mets, I don't know.
Yeah, and these guys are bringing out of the bullpen, which I thought wasn't that impressive. They've been very impressive, but the Yankees and the Dodgers bringing guys in from the pen. I thought the Phillies would have an edge there. They don't even have an edge there.
No.
Man, I'll tell you what, when you throw in the lineup Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, and Soto.
It's unfair.
Good Lord.
It's not fair.
I mean, really.
Well, and Stanton's on an historic run.
Yeah, he really is. He's mashing. They mash. Both of these, what are you going to do? The Phillies were built to mash. They didn't. They weren't mashed. They're not even close to those two teams, in my opinion. But we got the Sixers starting on Wednesday night, which is going to be all good against Milwaukee.
Yeah, and all the excitement,
home opener.
All the excitement about the Flyers has dissipated.
Let me just say about this. Come on, man. The boos, the home opener, but you're going to boo this early? This team is not. What is this team supposed to be to you? What do you think? They're like an upper echelon team, right? They're not an upper echelon team.
No.
We get the boos in the first home game. How's that possible? You got tickets for the Flyers, right?
I do, and I said this.
Fan base is that they would boo in the first then home opener.
I said this. I think it was last week, saying that I don't have expectations that they make the playoffs. This is still a rebuilding Flyers team. They're young. You just kind of hope that they grow. But I think what happened was a lot of people, with how close they got to the playoffs last year, and then they've added Michkov, people got excited, and it's exciting, but you can't lose sight of the fact that this is still a rebuild. And the fact that they lost and looked lifeless in the home opener, the boos rained down.
It was a lifeless effort.
That was
it's not.
Yeah, I get it, but what are they expecting this team to be right now? I don't get that part of it. Like, are you misguided about what they are?
I didn't throw the
play
boos
harder
out there, but I was sitting there. Yeah, I was sitting there just like, oof.
Yeah, but here's the other thing. In any sport, when you come off a road trip, the first game at home usually is the slog game.
True.
It is. It happens in every sport. You come off a road trip, you get back with your families, you get diverted. You don't go to the rink with or to the arena with that kind of like crazy I'm going to beat somebody up energy.
But it was the home opener. You thought maybe.
I get it, but it's coming off a road trip. Like a home opener not coming off a road trip might be a different story. All right.
They're back in action tomorrow night.
Who do they play?
Washington. They got a home and home with Washington Tuesday and Wednesday.
That's a split. Justin in New York, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Justin.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
What's up, Justin?
Nothing much. Yeah, I don't know. I called Friday. I told you guys I was going to the game, and I was, I felt like they would win, but I thought it'd be super close. So, I was pleasantly surprised, and it was very nice to see that stadium just completely miserable and quiet by halftime. But
it was like a mercy rule by the fourth quarter. Poor Drew Lock, they throw him in there. They got all these backups like a preseason game.
Yeah, the whole fourth quarter at that point, everyone's drunk and picking fights and arguments. No one's actually was watching the game anymore. But yeah, I'm honestly, I'm back in on. I never fully got off the team, but I'm in for the season. I think it's I think they're in a different spot than the Phillies, where the Phillies really were World Series or bust. I don't think this team needs to win a Super Bowl this year. I think there's a lot of bright spots right now on this roster with Quinyon Mitchell. Cooper DeJean has impressed me the last 2 weeks. He looks way better than I expected, and obviously just seeing a person take another step this year compared to last year. But I'm always ready to get hurt again by these teams, so I'm in, and I think this game against Cincinnati, they go into Cincinnati and beat Joe Burrow. You'll see a lot of people come back. But if they lose this week, everyone will say, "Oh, it was Giants," and look what happened now. So, but I'm back in.
All right, good for you, Justin. I think a lot of people are in a holding pattern. They're not back in yet. But if they beat Cincinnati, you're going to see that it'll be different. It'll be a different vibe.
Yeah. I think Cincinnati, this is kind of the game they really got to win.
It's a big game. It's a big game. We'll see what they do with Burrow. We'll see what Fangio cooks up for Burrow and Chase and the boys.
It's not going to be an easy game, a road game. You know what's surprising, though? Justin's talking about the fans in New York. Mm-hmm. The Philadelphia Eagles, in still a relatively close game early, were able to go no huddle with Jalen Hurts barking out play calls at the line of scrimmage.
No noise.
fan noise wasn't even an issue.
Yeah, no noise.
You should be embarrassed if you're a Giants fan.
They're a little different. They're not a rabid fan base. They're a cultured fan base.
Whatever they are.
They're the cultured fan base of New York because it's a legacy fan base. So you got that Clemenza drop. That one, the one, won't see him no more.
Oh, won't see him no more.
Yeah, that applies now to Britton Covey.
Oh, because of Cooper DeJean?
Oh, yeah, because that kid's got better natural return instinct. Listen, Covey led the league last year, but this kid really knows how to return punts.
The only reason why you may see Covey again is if they don't want – if Cooper DeJean becomes a big part of the defense, if they don't want him to still do it.
That would be a shame.
I agree with
you. That kid has instincts.
He will – I tweeted it out his first game punt return. I said, if they keep letting him do it, he will return one for a touchdown because he has those instincts. He's that good.
He does. I agree. Mike in Drexel Hill, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Mike.
Hey, gentlemen, great show.
What's up, Mike?
Living the dream. The Eagles. I'm always cheering, but I was never in love with Sirianni. But Bill's right about going to the Super Bowl, made the playoffs every year. But you have to make him totally responsible for coming out with lack of preparation week in and week out. They haven't scored in the first quarter. I don't know if they did yesterday. I was working.
No, they did not. They did not score again in the first quarter.
So, I mean, Andy Reid lived and died with the first 15 plays and usually got a lead.
Yeah, I don't understand it. It's not, and they didn't look good early. And, a lot of people on those social media were killing them. Jalen can't do this. And this offense is slugging. And it was. And I don't understand it either.
Yeah, but you have to almost throw out yesterday's game because the Giants are one of the worst teams, bottom 5 in the NFL.
Listen, when Saquon went on that run, that triggered him. It was like, oof. It was like they took the albatross, by the way, Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Prime of the Ancient Mariner, yeah. So
it's hard to have confidence in him at this point.
Yeah.
It really is. But we'll see what he does this week. And last year's collapse has to lay at his feet still, too. I mean, that's a historical collapse, and you had a chance to prepare for Tampa Bay, and you didn't.
See, that's what that tempers me from saying, oh, he's got a great record. Yeah, but that was just, that was too sour for me.
Yes, exactly. And, Mike, I'll tell you this. Max Muncy, Kiki Hernandez, Mookie Betts, and I'll trump you with Hatani.
The Dodgers are formidable. They're not as formidable offensively as the Yankees. Kiki Hernandez is like playing out of his gourd. He's not that kind of player.
Tommy Edman?
Yeah,
batting cleanup and doing what he's doing?
They got a lot of things that worked for him. The Yankees just rake.
But the Dodgers could win the World Series.
Well,
they're certainly good enough that they could beat.
Yeah, they could. They're two
better chance than 28
teams.
other teams.
Yeah, the two best teams are going at each other. Anybody can win that series.
But you just said something that the caller said too. But back to the Eagles real quick about the collapse last year. And I know that this is probably impossible to remove that from your brain because we all watched it last year. But through 6 games, if last year didn't happen, if we were sitting here right now with this Eagles team and saying, you know what, they're 4-2 with 4 games away from Lincoln Financial Field, the teams that they've played are actually pretty good. The Bucs have a good record. The Falcons have a good record. The Green Bay Packers have a good record. So the teams that they lost to, the 2 losses that they had, okay, you could live with those losses. Do you think fans would be feeling differently about the 4-2 football team if last season didn't happen? Is that what's in the back of everybody's head?
I think so. I really do.
So then I want to ask you, because you were not happy when Philadelphia fans and myself were worried about what was going to happen with the Phillies in the playoffs. Because you said, you can't let the past, this Negadelphia attitude. So why can't we make that same argument for the Philadelphia Eagles? That you can't let the Negadelphia creep in. It's a 4-2 team.
You're missing the point about the team. I looked at the coach being unable to stop the bleeding. That's what I focused on this year. Coming in, I go, that coach to me is not worthy enough to be the CEO of a program. If he could let something like that happen, it's apples and oranges. It's not even the same thing.
But see, here's where we disagree on the collapse. You say, the coach couldn't stop the bleeding. I looked at a team that lacked enough talent on the defensive side of the football to stop the bleed. What was he supposed to do at that point? What could they have done last year? The team wasn't that good.
I don't know, Bill. I just the whole thing unraveled. I think if you're a head coach, you can't just let a whole thing unravel when you start out 10-1. You had the same problems when you started out 10-1. All of a sudden, they just surfaced after that. It's like, to me, the head coach has to read the tea leaves and adjust and do something. He did.
So I'm not doing a good enough job.
Yeah, it had an effect on me. I go, that guy couldn't do anything with a team that wasn't. It was a good team. They were 10-1 good. All right, I understand that you're picking apart what their defense wasn't and all this kind of stuff. They were 10-1 good still, and then they collapsed. But listen, I'm disarmed. That ship has sailed now. Now I got to deal with what he does with this team, and what he's doing with the team. It's 4-2. I learn every week. But this notion that they're playing for him, I just don't buy into. Let's go to Rich in North Philly. Rich, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Rich.
Mike, man, listen, I know you've been back for a while. I work around the time you come on, so I really haven't got to catch you. But I want to tell you before I got to my point that I'm happy you're back, brother. It wasn't right in Philly since you've been gone, man. I think Grandma woke up one day, Grandma was hitting the heavy bag, and the cat was chasing the dog. But since you're back, everything's back in order.
Grandma hit the heavy bag. That's a good one.
Grandma was hitting the heavy bag, man.
Thank you, Rich.
Yeah, man. Listen, I have a healthy admiration for your point of view and just the way you see things, man. So just later for that. But I wanted to ask you, what do you think now that you've got a chance to see Jalen and I like his hard work. I like his accountability. But what do you think of him as an overall quarterback? And
listen, I don't think he's a great quarterback. I think he's solid enough to win. I think the things that he has, the legs aren't there anymore where he could really bust up a team by rambling for 20. And yesterday early on, he wasn't seeing the whole field, and that's a problem. But when they buckled down and they had a game plan where they're going to run the football primarily, and off of that he made 2 monster throws. So I'm okay with the way he played yesterday. Last 2 games, he hasn't turned the ball over. When he doesn't turn the ball over, they can win games.
Right. Thank you. That was it. That was all I wanted, man. And I'm glad you're back, man. Things right in Philly again.
All right, thank you, Rich. I appreciate it. There are a lot of people that defend Jalen on social media almost every week. And I get it. They think he's not criticized. Well, how come you didn't say this about this other guy? Well, I don't care about the other guy. I care about this guy. I'm not going to compare him every week to what other quarterbacks are doing. I look at his efficiency as a player that makes this team win. I'm saying, well, how come you don't criticize Joe Burrow? Because I'm not in Cincinnati. And I'm not in, I would be doing that if I was there. I have to deal with this guy.
What that drives me nuts is the Mahomes one.
Yeah.
Because people will say, well,
how come you don't
look at
criticize
Mahomes' interceptions.
Right. Dude, stop it.
I love
it's
Jalen,
a silly argument when you got a guy of that accomplishment. And when Hurts gets to that level of accomplishment, he'll get the same leeway that Mahomes gets.
And you're right. When talking about Hurts protecting the ball, 2 weeks in a row, no turnovers, they win both games. Not a coincidence. But I do want to talk, and we're running out of time, but maybe tomorrow we'll talk about what we think the plan should be with Jalen Hurts going forward, because basically they turned him into kind of a game manager yesterday.
They did.
And is that the formula? Because 3 years ago, after Nick Sirianni gave his fertilizer speech,
we all fertilize.
They basically turned that football team into a run-first offense, and they ran all the way to a playoff berth. Is that the formula for success going forward?
Everything is different. There are going to be teams that are going to stop what the Eagles did best yesterday, right? Saquon's going to get shackled somewhere along the line where he's going to be held to 50 yards. It's at that moment that the quarterback has to execute other things that make them win.
It's kind of what happened against Cleveland last week. I mean, the Cleveland really took away the run. The run wasn't effective. And then when they did that, it allowed things to open up in the passing game. But I think this team in previous years has liked to pass to then set up the run.
Yeah.
And I think you go back to run to set up the pass.
Yeah, they're not going to do that. they're probably not going to do that the whole year.
Well, and organizationally, they don't like that approach.
No, they don't. All right, it is time for closing arguments.
Now, closing arguments on the Mike Missanelli Show. Brought to you by Lowenthal and Abrams Injury Attorneys. Injured in an accident, call 800-876-LAWYER or visit lowenthalabrams.com.
All right, my closing argument is simple. The most complete game of the year yesterday against the New York Giants. And, yeah, I get it. The New York Giants are not a great football team. But the Eagles ran an offense and ran a defense that was tremendously efficient. What can I say about Saquon? You can't say anything more than he was great yesterday. Jalen was efficient with the 2 monster throws, a big 4th and 3 throw, which I think a lot turned the game around. The sacks, Fangio using his expertise to get guys to the quarterback, including Nakobe Dean. The offensive line keeping the Giants at bay after there were some early game woes. Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell, the rookies, doing a nice job. And the head coach bouncing back. So the big question is, does this game bring back Eagle fans? Not yet. We've learned today that Eagle fans are not ready to buy back in. But again, that's a fluid situation. And they could very well buy back in if they beat Cincinnati next week and then get to Dallas and all that stuff. So the only problem I have with this team is, why do they not come out of the gate with guns blazing? And that's a problem, because they're going to need to do that somewhere along the line in important games.
You can't answer the question why they don't come out of the gate, and I'm not going to respond to you talking about the head coach. The reason I think fans should be back in on this team has nothing to do with what the head coach did this week or even what the offense did. For me, it was the defense, because I have questioned the defensive personnel really for the last 2 years and what Howie Roseman has done and his ability to identify young defensive talent. And if the last couple of weeks have told us anything, well, Howie Roseman has done it, because Quinion Mitchell looks like a stud. Cooper DeJean looks like he belongs. And now you're starting to see guys like Nolan Smith and even Jalen Carter, who, when he turns it on, is unstoppable. Is it possible that this defense can actually be really good? Because if that's the case and this defense can perform, maybe we do have an elite team here in Philadelphia. We're going to find out over the next couple of weeks.
All right, we got a doubleheader tonight. You got any plays on the Ravens, Buccaneers, Chargers, Cardinals?
I don't have anything.
No?
Baker Mayfield, 2 interceptions. How about
Chargers -1 against the Cardinals. Baltimore is -4 against the Buccaneers in Tampa. I might like the Bucs with the 4.
Yeah, Eagles fans should be rooting for the Ravens. Let's knock off the Bucs, because they got a game up on the Eagles. You never know. You could be fighting for a wild card spot down the road.
Tampa Bay +170 on the money line. I might take a shot.
You know I don't like Baker.
You hate Baker. You can never be won over by people. It's funny about you.
Baker's got a long way to go.
You hate somebody, you hate him. And yes, Sirianni, you love him, and you can never hate. It's a very interesting phenomenon.
I will say I've had negative things to say about Dan Campbell. I don't love him.
You hate him.
But the Lions are the team to beat in the NFC.
Oh, look at you. All of a sudden, you're breaking down.
Yeah, the
How
Lions,
about that, Ray?
Lions are the team to beat. It's not the 49ers, that's for sure.
This is a fun day. Thanks, everybody, for participating. We appreciate it. We will check you out tomorrow on the Mike Missanelli Show. Have a good night. Bye-bye.